Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Aren't we supposed to be inside?
I'm actually most fascinated right now with Andrew's Patriots blanket.
And remotely, in front of a New England Patriots blanket for no apparent reason.
Why do you have a Patriots blanket, McLovin?
I am close personal friends with Brian Hoyer, so I think I'm changing allegiance.
Did you take that from one of our Super Bowl sets?
I'm having audio problems, Dan. I was listening what you said there.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
He's Mark Cuban, the Mavericks, joining us on the program. I know the NFL has been criticized, continuing business as usual here.
We want diversion. That's a sense of normalcy. That gives us something, like to your point, to divert our attention, to make us feel a little better. So, you know what? If people want to argue about who's going to be drafted by the NFL or the NBA, that's a great thing. That's not a bad thing.
Joined by the four Danettes.
I was sequestered.
It's Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick, the sportscaster. Welcome to the program. Last night I heard from some people saying, hey, you're trending on Twitter. I go, I'm not on Twitter. I said, well, you're on Twitter, and when did you get into politics? And I said, I try to shy away from politics. And then all of a sudden I saw the headline, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick with the quote, lots of grandparents willing to die to save economy for grandchildren. Once again, to clarify, that's not me. Feel free to like that if you like that tweet, but that's not me, and that's not how I feel. Just saying. Wow. It was like, my wife says to me, what did you say on the show today? And I go, nothing. Like any other day. And I got friends who are Republicans. They're like, yeah, okay. Hey, how about that? And I go, well, no. But, yeah, the lieutenant governor of Texas, the great state of Texas, that is not me. The, quote, lots of grandparents willing to die to save economy for grandchildren.
Skip Bayless said that is hot.
Yeah, that's a hot take right there.
Hot.
Hot take. Welcome to the program. Woo. Yeah, I saw that. And by the way, people who are emailing, thank you for those who had my back to say, no, that's not the same Dan Patrick. No, he wouldn't say something like that. But there were people who had some unkind things to say about me. They did. They really did. And I was going to have my team have my back. And apparently they were doing other things. Yes, Seton.
Right. To be fair, we say lots of stupid things on this show. We just don't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, Paulie.
So your name is Dan Patrick and you do not support this message?
I do not support this message.
I got a text from a buddy who lives in Arizona who's been smoking weed for about 35 years straight. And he texted me, goes, dude, what's up with your boy? And he sent me the link. I'm like, not my boy.
Yeah. So for anybody who thought that was me and are disappointed, just letting you know that that is not me. That's not my quote. That's not something I believe in. And I love grandparents. I really do. I do. You imagine you say, and I can't imagine where you go, I'm going to speak for all grandparents here because the lieutenant governor is a grandparent and therefore he's willing to die for his 6 grandchildren. All right. I don't know if you took how big a sample size you had with grandparents there, but it's kind of a strong quote there. Strong quote. We now resume our regularly scheduled program, The Dan Patrick Show. Now the bad news, the Olympics have officially been canceled. Just got the word from the International Olympic Committee. I'll give you sort of the meat of this. In the present circumstances and based on the information provided by the WHO today, the IOC president and prime minister of Japan have concluded that the games in Tokyo must be rescheduled to a date beyond 2020, but not later than the summer of 2021 to safeguard the health of the athletes, everybody involved in the Olympic Games, and the international community. When you think about it, we consume the Olympics 3 weeks out of the year, right? Maybe 4. Maybe you talk about 3 weeks and then that 4th week of after the Olympics, and we get to see them when they're on different shows, showing off their gold medals. And then we go back to our regular life. So, every 3 years and 48 weeks, we're not consumed with the Olympics. We don't care about those sports. Team handball. You're not, your curling we might be interested in now, but we're looking for any kind of athletic competition here. Gymnastics, maybe a little bit you'll watch, but for the most part, when's the last time you said, boy, I can't wait to see Simone Biles? Now, when the Olympics roll around, you're excited about that, and rightfully so. But the Olympic, these athletes, they're the ones that are preparing all their lives for this moment, and then it goes away. And I know it can't be controlled, but I think when we don't think of the Olympic athletes at any other time than that 3-week or 4-week period during the summer or winter Olympics. And I feel bad for them because they've been training for this, but it's the right decision. You can't get together with your team, and you want them to be able to go over there and be at their best, be fully prepared. And this was not going to allow them to do this. This program is brought to you by TrueCar. If you want to get an upfront price from a dealer online, search from over 1 million pre-owned vehicles with a new TrueCar. Buy smarter, drive happier. Joe Buck, the great play-by-play voice, will join us coming up a little bit. He is feeling alone at home. He has nothing to broadcast, no play-by-play, so we'll check in with Joe Buck. Adam Schefter from the Mothership, he's been busy. And Lance Zierlein, NFL.com. When we have our football stars at the Super Bowl read their draft profiles, they're usually reading something that Lance has written about them. Now, he does write good things about them, but we always pick out the bad things because that's better content. So when Drew Brees talks, he reads his draft profile and they have all these negatives, or J.J. Watt does, or Aaron Rodgers does, chances are Lance Zierlein, who does a great job because he gives you a balanced opinion there. He's not afraid to criticize somebody. Everybody seems to compliment, these draft picks. Every draft pick feels like it's a great draft pick, at least in the first round. And Lance will join us a little bit later on. Lance is of the belief the Bengals would trade. I don't know if he thinks they should trade or will trade that number 1 pick to the Dolphins for a couple of draft picks, first-round draft picks, and some second-round draft picks. But Lance will join us a little bit later on. You can dial us up if you'd like, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Say good morning to our radio partners, Fox Sports Radio lineup. And you can watch us on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. The Meat Madness is underway. Over 50,000 votes yesterday. And the Texas region is on display today. So we will bring you those songs. We have 8 songs to bring to your attention. 2-week voting period for the opening round of Meat Madness. We had some great ones yesterday, really unbelievable ones. The competition will be stiff, and the winner of the Final Fork and the national championship will win a Traeger grill. McLovin, you got a poll question for me today.
Well, it depends. It depends. You want draft or do you want free agency losers to start?
You pick.
Okay. Tua Tagovailoa put out a video last night that got the Twitter world very excited, where he was working out. If they were both perfectly healthy, who would you want, Joe Burrow or Tua?
I'm still going to take Joe Burrow because he hasn't had any injuries. Although he had an injury at Ohio State, I believe, when he lost out to Fields. But I would take a healthier quarterback in this situation. Tua might have a better upside. He might be a better pro. I don't know. But Joe Burrow, I know, is healthy. Tua is not healthy. And I don't know if that comes back to haunt him. If any of these injuries, is the hip arthritic? Is the ankle arthritic? You never know, because look at, what happened with Todd Gurley. You don't know. And I can't take that big a risk on a quarterback that is going to be an unknown. Yeah, McLovin.
Another question off that. Which quarterback makes a Pro Bowl first, Burrow or say a Tua? Because Burrow is going to Cincinnati, where he might not have tools to look good.
Yeah, but he's going to get a chance to play right away. If Tua goes to Miami, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick will probably be your starting quarterback to start out with. It's like Justin Herbert, if he goes to the Chargers, they got Tyrod Taylor there. It feels like those quarterbacks aren't quite ready. Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, they're not ready to start and they're going to go in and might go into better situations, but they're going to be a backup for a little while. I don't know if Tua plays right away. Joe Burrow is going to play right away. Although the Bengals still have Andy Dalton, and that to me is fascinating. Do you cut him? Is anybody going to trade for him? But we'll talk to Adam Schefter about this next hour. You still have Jameis out there, and you have, Cam Newton. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, would you take a chance on Jameis Winston? Buy low. It gives you a little bit of insurance in case something goes wrong with Dak Prescott. I don't know. Just these guys are going to end up somewhere as a backup, and that's what I wondered about Jameis, because that's a former number 1 overall pick. Cam, does somebody bring in Cam? And, with what happens with the Washington Redskins, they brought in Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen will probably play more than, Dwayne Haskins there, because that's Ron Rivera's guy. So if Ron really, he didn't bring in Cam Newton, and that told me something there, that maybe Ron realizes that Cam is not quite healthy yet. Yeah, Paul.
Do you think that the Bengals look at Andy Dalton and say, don't trade him now, trade him in like August 10th when some starter gets injured in a preseason game, assuming the season goes on as asked? Remember years ago when Minnesota had Sam Bradford and they had him and they traded him to Philly and you wait for that injury to happen and then you can get max value for an Andy Dalton. Maybe they're going to hold him, kind of like blood diamond him for a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. But it's a situation where, some of these teams, it feels like they're locking in on their quarterbacks right now. And Andy Dalton can start. Now, I was surprised that the Bears didn't go after Andy Dalton. Is Nick Foles a better quarterback than Andy Dalton? Not in my opinion. He's got a higher upside when he's great, but Andy Dalton's been more consistent than Nick Foles. Yeah, McLovin.
Is Jameis Winston to the Cowboys wishful thinking on your part? He's your favorite quarterback.
I know. I don't want to do that to disrupt a team. By the way, they just lost Travis Frederick. And here's a guy who was a great offensive lineman out of Wisconsin, and he's retiring at the age of 29. But this isn't a CTE situation. This is a disease, an autoimmune disease that's attacking his body. It made it difficult for him to be able to function. In 2018, he missed some time due to this disease. And, so now if you're the Cowboys, does this change draft strategy at all with what you do? But, with Jameis, where, Pittsburgh, is that a possibility here? Then he could actually be in a position to be the successor for Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, that to me, if I'm Jameis and I get that opportunity, I can be the backup in Pittsburgh, I take that right away. Because, if I go to Dallas, if Dak signs that long-term deal, I'm not playing. But if I go to Pittsburgh, Ben plays 1 or 2 more years, now I'm in good position. I don't know if the Steelers saw enough with Duck Devlin or Mason Rudolph where they go, you know what, we're good with our quarterbacks. Because I wouldn't be. I would seriously look at Jameis Winston if I'm the Steelers. And even the Cowboys. Who's their backup right now? Do you know, McLovin?
Is it Cooper Rush still? Possibly. Remember that guy, Cooper Rush, small college guy? He was there, I think, last year, but we'll double check.
Yeah, Paul.
Was he a Central Michigan Chippewa, Cooper Rush? That's the feeling I'm getting from my 1AA days.
He's no Easton Stick.
Oh, you love that guy.
Yes. Phone calls are welcome, 877-3DP Show. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle, DP Show. So we'll do the Texas region. We'll have that for you coming up. I think I've covered all of the headlines here. And we'll settle on a poll question, McLovin. Which one do you want to go with first hour?
I want to go for clicks. Who's had the worst offseason? Let's do it and put the Cowboys at the top of that list because they didn't pay Dak. They didn't re-sign Byron Jones, the cornerback. And now, unfortunately, they lost Travis Frederick. I looked at a list on CBSSports.com. It's the Texans, the Cowboys, the Los Angeles Rams, the Detroit Lions are the 5 worst off seasons. How about that for the poll?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, Paulie.
I'd like to throw in a team to discuss for this poll, the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts used a first-round pick to get DeForest Buckner, who they got to pay a lot of money. They brought in an old quarterback who didn't play well last year, and it wasn't Tom Brady. Did they seem improved?
I just can't. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this with Phillip Rivers. They reportedly weren't interested in Tom Brady. Brady was interested in the Colts. according to his agent, they were trying to get interest from the Colts. If you're paying Phillip Rivers $25 million for 1 year, why not pay Tom Brady $50 million for 2? That still baffles me. Now, I know there's a relationship between the offensive coordinator and Phillip Rivers, but I don't care. Were the Colts adverse to bringing in Brady? They brought in Jacoby Brissett, so you can't say, well, they'd never bring in a Patriot, but maybe they didn't want to be involved in the whole Tom Brady process. I don't know. But I would have said, hey, that seems like a pretty good deal. Yeah, McLevin.
You said that kind of casually, that Tom Brady had interest in the Colts. I thought the Colts turned him in for Deflategate.
Well, that was a long time ago with a different GM.
Wasn't that long ago.
Well, I'm trying to move on, Seton. I'm trying to move on. Maybe it came down to that. I have no idea. I just kept thinking, well, wait a minute. Why wouldn't you just bring in Brady? Could you have gotten Phillip Rivers at a cheaper price if you said you were looking at Brady? I don't know. But Phillip Rivers for 1 or Brady for 2 at the same money? I'm taking Tom Brady every day. What's my upside? Maybe playing deep into January with Tom Brady. Phillip Rivers, maybe a good regular season. But look at the weapons he had with the Chargers last year, and they did nothing. Brady, and granted, Brady's better off in Tampa with those weapons, with that coach, and maybe that's, the relaxed atmosphere that he wants to have, and he feels appreciated there. You don't want to go where you're forcing your way into the Colts. You want to be appreciated. And that's why, if that's, that feels like that's one of the overriding factors why he decided that he was going to go to Tampa. He just wanted to be appreciated, respected, loved, as strange as that may sound. All right, we'll take a break. Phone call's coming up, and we'll check in with Joe Buck. Hey, Todd.
How are you?
Good.
I'm a little concerned about Joe. I think he's losing his mind a little bit. I think it's very creative what he's doing, trying to pass the time, but these tweets are coming out and he's narrating things going on with his family and his kid falling down and smacking his wife. It's getting a little strange. Hopefully you can...
Joe didn't smack his wife.
No, Joe's baby.
Yeah,
took a little shot at the wife. So things are getting a little wild in the Buck household. So hopefully you can ease his mind a little bit there.
Probably should have just gone to commercial. Probably should have just gone.
I appreciate you trying to work me into the first segment, though.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if you were
Took
with
a
us.
Shot.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were with us. Still don't know if you're with us. I'm glad to have you, though.
It's good to be here.
Glad to have you. I hope you stick
Got my
around.
Terrell Davis jersey on and feeling good.
Oh, no, I got you. I got it. You're looking good, man. Looking good. All right, we'll take a break here. Coming up on 18 after the hour, phone calls on the way. This is the sportscaster, Dan Patrick, on The Dan Patrick Show. My Epson EcoTank printer has been in great use because we kiss expensive cartridges goodbye. EcoTank comes with a ridiculous amount of ink, enough to print thousands and thousands of pages. The printer has supersized, easy-to-fill ink tanks, which means you never hassle with buying or changing expensive ink cartridges again. Now, just print your business documents, your reports, tax forms, everything on your list, and do so in color. EcoTank is changing the way people print. If you're thinking about buying a perfect printer, do what we did. We added the Epson EcoTank printer to the man cave. Transform the way your home or office prints and do away with out-of-ink frustration. Check out Epson EcoTank printers at Best Buy, Office Depot, Office Max Staples, and at Epson.com/EcoTankDan. That's Epson, EPSON.com/EcoTankDan. Epson EcoTank printers. Just fill and chill.
Day 4 of the LA Taco Tour, Paps and Perloff here in Echo Park at Guisados.
I hear it gets big time crowded, a line around the block. I got that all fixed.
We're gonna use our DP show poll?
Nope. We're in Dodger country, and I'm gonna just go up to the front and say, hey, I'm Paul Pabst, close personal friend of Dodger legend Fernando Valenzuela.
You know Fernando?
Not at all, no. I got chicken tacos, I got pork tacos, I got fish tacos, I got shrimp, I got vegetable tacos, which I don't know what do you do with those?
I hear all the meat here is braised and stewed.
Correct, and it's gonna be very tender. Now, there's one out there, steak picado. It has bacon in it.
Whoa.
Now you got me. Now, Armando, I'm sure you have different guys from the Dodgers come in here, different celebrities, bigwigs. Have you ever given anyone the dumpster mural their own table treatment?
No, you're the first, actually. Over Adrian Gonzalez, over Puig, all of them. So here you got the fish taco, the shrimp taco, steak picado, and the chorizo.
What's that sauce right there?
That's a chipotle cream.
Paulie, I will pay you $100 for that shrimp taco.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
It's our secret menu item. It's a quesadilla with chorizo. So it's a grilled piece of panela queso that we put on the grill, sear both sides, and then throw chorizo into it. I brought you a knife so you guys can cut it in half.
Well, that's very nice. I got it. I got it.
I'll hold on.
I know.
I'll cut it for you.
Yeah.
All the meat is very tender and doesn't feel like it's just thrown together. It feels like it's been sitting like braised, like you said.
Correct, exactly. Which is what guisados means, to be braised or stewed. So that's why all of the meats we serve are juicy.
Okay, Paulie, what'd you think of Guisados?
Fantastic. Braised. It was very tender. All the meats were tender. A lot of varieties of tacos here.
You okay?
I don't know, dude. I've had a long week. I've eaten a lot of tacos, and I've doubled my weight probably, and I don't know if I have any more in me. I mean, it's just, I don't think I could do it.
Get it together, Paulie. It's taco tour, man.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'm back.
All right.
I'm back.
Let's go get some more tacos.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. It's the all-new GT four-door coupe. As life is a race, visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you miss any interviews from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance. We'll settle on a poll question coming up. A couple of phone calls here. Jack in Chicago joins us. Good morning, Jack. What's on your mind?
I was wondering, who would you rather have, Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky as your starting quarterback?
Are you a Bears fan, Jack?
Yes.
How old are you?
13.
Who do you want as your quarterback?
Well, Foles did help the Eagles win the Super Bowl, so I'd probably pick Foles.
All right. I would pick Nick Foles as well. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Yeah. And good luck this season. I'm going to homeschool Jack. Nick Foles, though, is the right choice here because you have this window of opportunity here with that defense, Khalil Mack. You want to make sure you have the right quarterback in there. And Mitchell Trubisky, it still feels like a work in progress. We're finding some of these younger quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, maybe Mitchell Trubisky. Daniel Jones may work out where they're going to end up going to another team eventually, being a backup. And it's kind of the Ryan Tannehill way of life where you move on, you're back up, you wait for your chance, you go in there, and then you're there for the long haul. At least you get another contract. And that may be the case with Mitchell Trubisky. If you get the right situation there, or he goes in and learns from somebody, then you got an opportunity to maybe see, what the promise was that the Bears saw in him on draft night. Jeremy in Texas joins us. Hi, Jeremy.
Good morning. Long time, first time, 5'8", 200. I wanted to mention, y'all were talking about Dak Prescott situation. They just paid Amari Cooper. They're running out of money. They're picking up all these defensive guys. Why not pick a cornerback first round, second, third round, pick up a Jalen Hurts? Everybody forgets about Jalen and what he did in Alabama, and then he goes to Oklahoma and has a phenomenal season in Oklahoma, but nobody's ever mentioning him. So, he could be one of those sleeper picks.
Yeah, but that's how they got Dak Prescott. You had Tony Romo, and they were looking at Connor Cook out of Michigan State, missed out on him, and then they were even thinking of drafting Johnny Manziel years ago. Dak Prescott fell into their lap, and they found their franchise quarterback. Jalen Hurts is going to get an opportunity somewhere as a backup quarterback, I feel. I don't know if it's New England. I saw Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, and he had Jordan Love going to the Patriots.
Really?
So, you're starting to figure out where these guys going to go. Jordan Love is not a top 10 pick, in my opinion, not a top 15 pick. So somebody is going to maybe get a bargain down the road with Jordan Love. But if you're drafting somebody that high, it feels like you want them, expect them to play right away. Dwayne Haskins wasn't ready to play right away. Daniel Jones probably wasn't. He waited a little bit, and then he got his opportunity, and he had some really good moments there. But we tend to think, coming out of college, these guys are in a pro set, that it's easy to make that transition. For some it is, and for others, that's the normal. That's what it's always been for even the great quarterbacks. There is that transitional period. Some of these, guys can come in and play right away and play at a high level, but it takes a little bit of time for the other ones. All right, 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com. We'll settle on the poll question. Now, do we have any other poll questions, McLovin, before we talk to Joe Buck?
Well, we did put up just now who had the worst offseason, the Texans, the Cowboys, the Rams, Colts, or the Jaguars. Okay. Apparently the Jaguars lost everybody. But this is going to be the Cowboys, right? Because they're the most popular team, so people focus on them more.
Well, you lose a great offensive lineman. I don't want Amari Cooper at that price. And you didn't sign Dak long term. I'd have to put the Patriots in there, McLovin, because...
Oh, sorry. They're in there, too.
Okay.
I'm just adding them now.
Yeah.
Has that been a bad offseason, or is that what they wanted to do?
Well, Kyle Van Noy, did they plan on losing him? And Brady, maybe they were planning on losing him, but I would think... I'd have a big question mark with the Patriots, with what they did in the offseason. All right, let me get to Joe Buck, Fox NFL, baseball play-by-play announcer. Where are you, Joe?
I'm sitting in my damn desk where I've been for the last 2 damn weeks.
Describe the office there. Take inventory for me.
A lot of pictures of myself.
Of course.
That's kind of the way I roll. Me in various poses. Me with friends that I haven't kept up with over the years. There's some pictures of my wife in here. There's one picture of my kids. That's irrelevant. There's a bunch of Emmys sitting around. There's 2 bobbleheads. There's a lot of books that I've told people that I've read and haven't.
The one thing you grab, if you can only grab one thing leaving in the house?
Emmys, all of them.
Of course. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the one thing I would grab, there's a picture. I mean, I figure, if I'm running out of the house, I'm running out of the house with my wife and kids, so we can replace those pictures. But there's a picture of my dad and me that I joke about the Emmys for a lot of different reasons. But there was one night we had in New York where he got a Lifetime Emmy, and I got to present him. And he and I are sharing a hug that there's a look on both of our faces that I would never want to lose. And it was taken with one of those disposable cameras that we bought at the Marriott on the way in, and somehow the picture actually turned out. So that definitely would be something that I would search for in the smoke. And by the way, I'm talking as somebody whose mom's house burned to the ground. So you do lose a lot, and whatever doesn't get burned gets drowned. So it's not a laughing matter, but I would definitely go after that picture.
How are you keeping sharp?
I don't know that I've ever been sharp.
Fair enough.
I do know. We are. I would assume you're in the same boat as me. I'm really flooded with information. With daily clips that Fox has some service that'll pull clips from every newspaper in the country or different blogs or different websites or whatever that kind of consolidates the different baseball stories, the different football stories, newsletters, whatever I get online. And I feel like I'm kind of more dialed in than I've ever been. There's just nothing to do with the information. But I've done probably more reading in my quote unquote off season than I've ever done, because I'm sitting around the house and trying to duck away from my almost 2-year-old twin boys.
What have you heard about baseball?
I really haven't heard anything. I don't know that anybody knows any real information. I would imagine if you sat down with Rob Manfred right now, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, he would have no real idea of when they're going to get going. I mean, and maybe if. I would like to think that there's going to be a season. I would like to think that if they got 80, 81 games in, like half a season, it would feel like a Major League Baseball effort. But I think anything short of that, they're going to have to get rolling, in my opinion, by at least mid-June. I don't see May as a possibility, and they're basically going to have to start spring training over again whenever they ramp up. I mean, all this stuff seems silly when you think about loss of life and this whole pandemic situation that is literally around the world. So I get it when people roll their eyes and you're talking about sports, but it's a big part of American life. And, I've talked to our producer with golf. The U.S. Open is mid-June. I would say that's iffy. And even if they do play it, or even if they do get back to baseball, who knows what the crowd situation is going to be like. So it's a brave new world, a totally different world, and I don't know that anybody can tell you anything. Nobody at the network has said one word about when baseball will start up. Nobody knows.
But we're going to be so backed up with all these sporting events. If you look at golf, baseball starts, the NBA, if they try to squeeze that in, NASCAR try to get that in. There's hockey that needs to be squeezed in here, maybe soccer that needs to be squeezed in. Then you start with the off-season workouts or training camp with the NFL. I don't know if we have enough time to put all of that in the span of about, 5 months.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I know from a reliable source that, at least with regard to hockey, their plan is, first of all, they need to make sure nobody tests positive, whenever the startup date is looming. And then they'll have a camp for about a week. They'll open up the playoffs to even more teams than they typically have, and I think they'll just slam right into a playoff situation and play the Stanley Cup playoffs. So there's no way they can finish the regular season, readjust, go into the playoffs, and I think it's going to be that way across the board. I don't know what Major League Baseball is going to do with a shortened season, and maybe they have to or get to toy with the postseason picture and add teams like they floated a month or so ago. And the postseason looks different not only in 2020, but going forward. Maybe it's an opportunity that way to get people looking at the playoffs in a different way than they ever have in Major League Baseball.
Talking to Joe Buck, Fox NFL and baseball play-by-play announcer. He has been inviting fans to send him videos so he can call play-by-play. And you said on Twitter you did about 12 videos yesterday. Do you want to ask for more here today?
Oh yeah, I mean they're stacked up.
Oh, okay.
Trust me. But I'm happy to get them, and I want to keep doing them. What I didn't realize was I got these videos. Fox compiled them for me because it has nothing to do with anything but my technological ineptitude. And they sent me the videos. I did the voiceover into kind of a portable recording device, and then I sent those files back to somebody at Fox, and then they're putting them on top of the videos. And then I got a note last night, well, we're trying to clear the videos, I guess, with the people who sent them. So they'll start hitting the internet today. I don't want everybody to hold their breath like these are the this is Michelangelo presenting play-by-play of somebody throwing darts in their living room. But those are done. I'd like to do 10 or 12 a day just for the hell of it, and people seem to enjoy it. Hopefully they do. If they don't, I'll stop. If they do, I think it's a chance to maybe raise some money for people who desperately need it at this time of total shutdown.
And what are you asking for from those who send in videos?
No, just a donation somewhere. I mean, I have no way of following up on it. I think I'm just playing on people's guilt, playing on people's their word, and hoping that they'll follow through on what they say they'll do. If I do the play-by-play to whatever they're doing in their backyard, their living room, their basement, or whatever it might be, then they've got to make a donation somewhere that matters during this time. And I don't care if it's $10,000, $10, or $1. I think the effort gets everybody thinking the right way. So I'm not checking up on it. I'm just hoping that people will actually follow through on making good, because you and I are so lucky to do what we do, and there's so many people wondering if they're going to be able to make a rent check, or wondering where the next paycheck's going to come from or when. So any little bit's got to help.
Where are the kids?
I have no idea. They're wandering the halls. They turn 2 at the end of April. Michelle, my wife, is sitting with them right now. They're coloring. And then my other kids, my other set, the 23 and 20-year-olds, are home. One's home from New York, one's home from USC, and everybody's together. So, I mean, I think there's some silver lining in it. Obviously, while people are struggling with this virus, those who aren't touched by it personally, I think have an opportunity to reconnect. And I think it's been nice having everybody at home. But I have never wanted to go pay somebody for a dinner out more than I do right now.
Rank your kids, because you told me this privately, like favorite to least favorite.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're two different sets. There's the older set and then the younger set. The younger of the older two, she and I have a connection, but the older one, the trick in parenting, in my 23 years of it, excuse me, is making both feel like they're the favorite kid. So I think they both, if you hooked them up to a lie detector and you said, are you your dad's favorite kid, they would both say yes, and they would both pass. So, I don't think publicly is the right time to do it. At a bar, I'll tell you which one is my favorite. And then of the younger two, one of them looks a lot like me, bigger head.
Is that a good thing?
Bigger body. No,
you
not
got
at
a
all.
beautiful
But,
wife. I feel bad for that little guy.
The other one, no, they're both, they're both, knock on wood, and thank God, they're both, good-looking kids. But one looks like my baby picture. One looks like Michelle's baby picture. So I'll let you guess which one of those two, at least through almost 2 years of life, is my favorite.
Good luck at home there. Enjoy all of that.
Can we do this longer, please?
You want to call in later? You want to call in tomorrow?
Yeah, I just want to sit in my office. This is so much nicer.
Because as soon as your wife doesn't hear you on the radio anymore, you just pretend you're talking.
You just hang up whenever you're done,
Yeah.
and I'll just keep talking at a really loud volume, and she'll think that I'm still doing it, babe. I'm still on the air.
Give me
I'm on with Dan Patrick.
Get a fake laugh in there too. There you go. That'll always do. Yeah, you don't want to interrupt that.
Remember the time?
Yeah.
2004.
Good
what
times.
a year that was.
Good times, great oldies.
Yeah.
Good luck, Joe.
First time, long time. Okay, yeah. You have a great day.
Thank you, Joe. That's Joe Buck, Fox NFL baseball play-by-play announcer. We'll take a break. We got our play of the day. I got some Meat Madness songs to bring the Texas region. And if these songs are anywhere near what we had yesterday, you're in for a treat, good and bad. And also, I started watching a documentary. It was a bad idea to watch this documentary. I'll have that for you coming up next on The Dan Patrick Show.
Tony, you're the principal owner here at Bull Feathers.
That's correct.
What can you tell me about the name?
The name comes from the Teddy Roosevelt saying of instead of bull, whatever, he used bull feathers so he could be nice and neat about things.
We're at Hawk and Dove. Is that the origin of that name? Is that from like War Hawk and War Dove?
That's right. Yeah, that's where the young political kids start the political parties. You know, that's why if you saw downstairs, we have it both sides. You know, we don't just one. Yeah. So what a perfect name, no? The Hawk and the Dove.
So who makes up sort of your clientele? You get a lot of politicians come through.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Democrats, Republicans. At one time, the place was noted to be a Republican bar, but I think we don't cater to that type of thing. We want everybody to be here. You know, money's money. It doesn't make any difference where it comes from.
Yeah.
As long as it's legitimate now.
As a bartender, do you have to be sort of down the middle, or do you not talk politics at all?
You know, that's something I don't talk about it because that's something that you never know. Am I gonna offend you with my answer? You know, that's part I stay away from. Religion, political, races, colors, you know. Hey, man, I'm better than you. I said, great.
Yeah, okay.
That's how you feel.
Is your money green? All right, just put it down on the bar.
You have money, you want to spend it here? You are welcome.
Is there one party that's sort of more of the beer drinking party and one party that's maybe more of a craft cocktail party?
I don't see a difference in the people. I mean, Republican or Democrat, I don't see a difference.
Yeah.
As long as we're doing business, I'm happy. That's all that matters to me.
I feel like D.C. has a reputation for partying hard.
They do.
Yeah, like they get after it a little bit.
Yeah, and especially this day when they come out of the office, you know, they always feel like they need a drink.
You have to imagine most people that are working here are college graduates, and everybody gets so loyal to, you know, if you're working on the Capitol or something like that, you probably have a school that you're diehard for, and places like this must just get packed.
Oh, yeah.
The Capitals just won the Stanley Cup. And I was amazed at the amount of turnout of people for this. It was just amazing. So that just tells you right away, when you have something like that happen, it brings everybody together.
Yeah.
And people, I'm saying, where all these people come from? You know, I've been here all my life. Now they're out in the streets. I mean, I'm mobbed all over the place. I said, what the hell's going on here?
Doing college football, we have this, the whole up here is just for Arkansas.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No kidding.
The Arkansas take the whole up here for the doing college season. It's amazing. 20 or 25 of them make the same noise as 150. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Is there sort of a golden age of DC that you could, if you were looking back and identified, is it the 70s, 80s?
The city's just changed over the years, and the whole thing is you got to change with it. If you're going to be in business, you got to keep changing, you know? And I guess if you survive in this business for 50 years, I don't know, we've done something right or something wrong, but we're still here, so we must have gone along with the change.
Have you seen the city change a lot since 92 to today?
100%, 100%. Yeah, this city changed. Like this area right here, we are behind the Capitol in Southeast area. It's called the Capitol Hill. Let me tell you, man, back in the day, people used to joke around and say, hey, man, if you go on vacation, don't go southeast.
Oh, yeah.
It's dangerous. Now, this is amazing.
Well, thank you very much for your hospitality. The food has been awesome. This beer is really good. I'm loving Earn Run Ale. I've taken up a lot of your time, and there's a party of women waiting downstairs for you.
No, you know what?
I'm going to let you get back to your work.
You ought to jump into that burger. That looks pretty good.
I know, but I'm all about this pizza right now, though. Yeah, appreciate
Salud.
you open up the place.
Just come back and see us if you have a chance.
I will do.
Oh my God!
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day. Check this out.
Here comes Jimmer. Long range. Are you kidding me? He's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger.
That's courtesy of CBS. That was 9 years ago today. Jimmer Fredette played his last college basketball game. Florida bounced BYU from the Sweet 16. That year, he led the nation in scoring, just under 29 points per game. Support for the Dan Patrick Show is from LegalZoom. It's important to know the benefits of setting up your business the right way. Good thing LegalZoom can help. Their network of independent attorneys can answer questions and provide legal advice. To learn more, go to LegalZoom.com. We'll get some Meat Madness songs here, update the poll result. I started watching a show last night. It's called Tiger King, and it's on Netflix. So I was looking at, here's a summary of the show, just to give you an idea, this from the big lead. The star of the show is a man named Joe Exotic. He's just your average openly gay, gun-toting, drug-using, big cat-loving, polygamous zookeeper who ran for president in 2016. Spoiler alert, that was given away in the trailer. He went to prison thanks to a ham-fisted murder-for-hire plot against another big cat enthusiast. I know what you're thinking after reading all that. Is Joe a country recording artist? Yep, he's that as well. He's got music videos. He's got, I mean, it's fascinating. He's got a song called Here, Kitty, Kitty. He's got My First Love. It's called A Pretty Woman Lover, where so he's gay, and he's got these women climbing all over him. But the documentary, you start to watch it, and you think you're watching something that Christopher Guest, who gave us Best in Show, would have created, where you're going to go, okay, we've got this guy, and he's openly gay. He loves lions and tigers, and he collects them, and you can come in and you can pet them, and then he does songs. It's crazy. Yeah, Todd.
What drew you to that? Who told you about it? Why did you check that out last night?
Got a lot of publicity on Netflix. They're really kind of pumping it out. Like, you just look at it and you go, that's an interesting looking guy there. And then I watched the trailer, which I never should have done, because then I go, oh, you got me. Yes, Eden.
I started watching that last night too, actually, but I fell asleep during it. Not because it wasn't interesting, but just because I was really tired. But I found it interesting when they start bringing in the other sort of big cat people.
Yeah.
Like there's the guy in South Carolina, and you can tell that these dudes have these like they're known internationally, and they really enjoy that. Where they're like, you know, I'm arguably the biggest big cat owner in the world or whatever, and private and blah blah blah. You know, their egos
massive
are
egos.
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they basically have a zoo. They have a zoo where you can come in and, you know, they'll bring out the little tiger cubs and you can pet them, get your picture with them. And then he does all these tricks with them and, you know, pets
And it costs
them.
them like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just to feed them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, McLovin.
Okay, so I'm one episode in. I think the other people are also very weird. Doc Antle, as Seton mentioned, and the conservative. Is it all real, Dan? That's my question.
I kept thinking that this is something that you would give that kind of mockumentary when they did Best in Show or Waiting for Guffman, that you go, okay, wait a minute. But this guy's in prison. He tried to have somebody killed. There's a woman who I think is in Florida, and her job is basically to harass this guy, Joe Exotic, so people won't show up at his events because she thinks it's cruel and unusual punishment to have these animals in captivity. Yeah, Paulie.
I did some research here. There are 8 states where it's completely legal to own a tiger: North Carolina, Bama, Delaware, Nevada, Oklahoma, South Carolina, West Virginia, Wisconsin. Shockingly, Florida's not involved. 14 other states require a permit to own a tiger or any other big cat. You can buy a tiger for under $5,000. But the problem is you need at least 15 pounds of meat a day for an average-sized tiger to feed it.
Yeah, I think Joe Exotic is in Oklahoma, but he's got billboards there where you can families go in there and they take the tour, and he puts on a big show for you. He's dressed up like he's got an outfit on. He carries a gun with him. He's got his eyeball or whatever above his eye, like his eyebrow pierced with, he's got piercings there and his rings on his earrings, and like he's got his hair bleached blonde. He's a real character, man. Real character. But
that bleach blonde mullet is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't find enough of those anymore. Season 3 of Ozark comes out on Friday. Ooh. It should be nice. Send me into the weekend. A little binge watching there with Jason Bateman. But Joe Exotic. Yeah, give it a shot. If you're saying, hey, let me try something, do that. Yes, Eden.
You know what I love too? They catch all these little moments where Joe Exotic is getting interviewed by whoever the person is doing the documentary, and he'll be there like petting the cat and being like, "Oh, look, this one just loves to be touched. This one just needs cuddles and all this stuff." And while he's saying that, the cat will go like and bite his hands, and he's like, "No, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay," and he like hides it behind. No, that's okay, that's okay, no, it's okay, that's fine, that's fine. What?
And then at some point, he's got a knee brace on and he's got a crutch, and I don't even know what happened to him. But it's bizarre, but it feels like you're being played, that this isn't real with Joe Exotic. I didn't know he ran for president in 2016. I missed him on the debates there. Was Joe Exotic on the debates there? I'm not quite sure I saw that, but yeah, man, for your viewing pleasure, and I put pleasure in small letters, not capital letters. Update the poll results, McLevin.
Okay, who had the worst offseason so far? The Texans are actually running away with it after losing DeAndre Hopkins, and then the Patriots second.
Yeah, all right.
Cowboys are fourth, so no one's worried about the Cowboys.
Well, they better win a Super Bowl real soon because they're going to be in salary cap hell. They're going to be, because they paid everybody. And you still haven't fully paid Dak Prescott, whether it's for a 3-year deal or 5-year deal. Jerry's been all in the last couple of years on trying to win that Super Bowl. And they paid Amari Cooper, paid Ezekiel Elliott, the offensive line, some of those defensive players. Adam Schefter will join us coming up in about a half hour. Where does he think Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, Andy Dalton are headed? Anybody headed to New England? What's he think of my idea? Jameis Winston in Pittsburgh. 1 hour in the books, 2 more to go with Seton, Paulie, Fritzy, McLevin, yours truly on this Tuesday. This is the Dan Patrick Show, the Sportscaster. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Aren't we supposed to be inside?
I'm actually most fascinated right now with Andrew's Patriots blanket.
And remotely, in front of a New England Patriots blanket for no apparent reason.
Why do you have a Patriots blanket, McLovin?
I am close personal friends with Brian Hoyer, so I think I'm changing allegiance.
Did you take that from one of our Super Bowl sets?
I'm having audio problems, Dan. I didn't hear what you said there.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
He's Mark Cuban, the Mavericks, joining us on the program. I know the NFL has been criticized, continuing business as usual here.
We want diversion. That's a sense of normalcy. That gives us something, like to your point, to divert our attention, to make us feel a little better. So, you know what? If people want to argue about who's going to be drafted by the NFL or the NBA, that's a great thing. That's not a bad thing.
Joined by the 4 Danettes.
I was sequestered.
It's Dan Patrick.
It's Around the Horny, Dan Patrick Show version, where Seaton's at home, Fritzy's at home, McLovin's at home. See, Tony Reale does Around the Horn, but they're not at home when they're doing Around the Horny. Paulie is right here with me, about 15 feet away from me, and we're glad you're part of the program in whatever way you can and you'd like. If you're voting on our Meat Friday songs, the Meat Madness, we'll have the Texas bracket coming up for you. 8 songs today, over 50,000 votes yesterday, so keep it coming. And the winner of the Final Four will receive a Traeger grill when it's all said and done. The 2020 Summer Olympics have been postponed. They will be somehow resumed before 2021, according to the International Olympic Committee. That came out prior to the start of the show about an hour ago. 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. Cowboys guard Travis Frederick retires at the age of 29, and the Patriots have cut their all-time leading scorer, Stephen Gostkowski, which I found kind of interesting. But he had been, did they cut him before, release him before, and then he came back, or has he always been there? I'm not sure. For some reason, I thought that they brought him back, but probably expensive for a kicker. But Adam Vinatieri's still planning on kicking this upcoming season, I believe, isn't he? With the Colts is he around 45 or is he 46 now? But Stephen Gostkowski of the Patriots got cut. Adam Schefter will join us. How old is
Vinatieri? He's 47. He will turn 48 this season if he plays.
Unbelievable.
He's got to push it to 50.
Oh, I don't think so. With the way it looked last year, he didn't perform well. And he cost the Colts a couple of games. He did. George Blanda, I think, was 49 or 50 when he played for the Raiders. And he was still their kicker, but he came in as their emergency quarterback and actually played well, I think, in a couple of games. Yeah, Paul.
You're right. George Blanda was 48 his last season as a kicker with the Oakland Raiders, but he got time at the quarterback position all the way basically up till age 44.
Yeah.
Deep backup role.
All right. Adam Schefter will join us. We'll find out where he thinks Jameis Winston lands and Cam Newton and Andy Dalton. And does he think that there's any method to the madness that the Bengals might trade that number 1 overall pick? The Miami Dolphins looking to move up. Lance Zierlein, who works for NFL.com, has his mock draft. He's the one that threw it out there. Now, there's been sort of reports, rumors that maybe Joe Burrow and his camp aren't thrilled with going to the Bengals. We'll see if that's the case. But for the time being, are the Dolphins trying to get an offer together that the Bengals would actually look at? And my source said yesterday, the Bengals just don't do this. They don't trade. And they wouldn't trade that top pick. I was like, okay, well, because Paul Brown didn't do it, and his son Mike Brown is not going to do it either. That's what I was told yesterday. But we'll talk to Adam Schefter about that. You start to think about when you trade up to get a quarterback. The Rams, they gave the Titans 4 draft picks in the Jared Goff deal. So they used those picks. They got Jack Conklin, and they got Derrick Henry out of that. They got Austin Johnson, unproductive defensive tackle. He's currently a free agent. But, you got Conklin and Derrick Henry. Those are all pros. And Jared Goff is not an all-pro at his position. But You got two. Conklin's now with the Cleveland Browns. The Rams made a series of trades with the picks they got from the Redskins. With that RG3 deal, the picks eventually turned out to be Greg Robinson, Alec Ogletree, Michael Brockers, Janoris Jenkins, Stedman Bailey, Zach Stacy, Isaiah Peed. That's a pretty good haul there. That was for RG3. Let me see. The Falcons, when they traded up for Michael Vick, Falcons got Vick at number 1. They gave up the number 5 pick, LaDainian Tomlinson, additional picks, and then also Tim Dwight, a kick returner, and also a backup wide receiver. The Eli Manning deal, the Giants, they got the number 1 pick, and then the Chargers got Phillip Rivers, and they got a first-round pick the following. That's all they got. First-round pick the following season turned out to be Sean Merriman. You're going to have to give at least 2 first-round picks and then maybe another first-round pick the following year, a couple of second-round picks. But, you know, if Miami really loves him, you know, according to ESPN, Todd McShay, Carson Wentz was interesting because there were further trades involved, and this is going to get complicated. In exchange for the number 2 pick in the 2016 draft, Cleveland initially got the 8th overall. Then they got the 77th, 100th overall. And then 2017 and 2018, they got a first round and a second round. Cleveland traded the number 8 pick to Tennessee in the Jack Conklin trade. And Jack Conklin's now with the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland traded Philadelphia's 2017 first round pick to Houston, and Houston got Deshaun Watson. Cleveland got the number 25 pick in the 2017 draft and a first-round pick in 2018. The 25th overall pick, Jabril Peppers. Philadelphia and Cleveland. Cleveland used the Eagles' 2018 second-round pick to take Nick Chubb. Cleveland used Houston's first-round pick in 2018 for Denzel Ward. Oh, God. Wow, that's a lot of people. So the Eagles got Carson Wentz. Browns got Corey Coleman, Sean Coleman, Nick Chubb, Jabril Peppers, and Denzel Ward. Ward and Chubb were successful picks. Peppers, not so much. The Colemans, not so much either. But, you know, sometimes you don't keep track of those trades when you go, hey, we got our guy. We got Wentz, or we got Jared Goff, or RG3. It's like, well, what happened to those picks? So now you know. The Los Angeles Rams deserve a little credit. With everything going on in the world, they dropped a less serious topic on us yesterday. They officially unveiled their new logo, a fairly simple L and an A, and then a graphic of a ram head, bright blue and yellow colors. They probably put a ton of work into it. And you know how Twitter is. People have been killing the look since it leaked a little while ago. And that's what we do. We make fun of things like logos and uniforms and people sometimes. Some people said Tom Brady couldn't go to the Buccaneers because their uniforms were too ugly. They're changing those uniforms. Nobody's going to be upset, like in Tampa, that you're going to change the uniform. All right, fine. With the Rams, you already had a great logo. The media has to remember one thing. They're not the target audience here. Teams are selling to kids, teenagers, millennials. NFL writers have nostalgia for the old days. Oh, I remember the creamsicle Buccaneers or those powder blue Charger uniforms or Pat the Patriot here. Young fans don't care about that. It's like, what's new? What's hip? Those Ram logos are probably cool, or at least cooler than everybody else thought on Twitter. I didn't like it, but I'm not the target demo. And you got to take chances sometimes. I'm okay with that. You know, a lot of these teams, you know, they change the look of their logo. I'm okay with it. Try it. I mean, you're going to get roughed up, but at least you try it. And maybe you stumble upon something where you go, that looks pretty cool. Well, that's different. That's unique. Yeah, Fritzy.
Well, they're not ramming it down our throat. They're just putting it out there. If we like it, we like it. We don't like it, we don't like it.
Thank you, Todd. Yes, Paulie?
If you go back to the Rams logo history, their logo in 1946 looks almost exactly like the logo now. So for people who don't like the one now, it's basically a throwback to their original logo, which nobody remembers because it was 1946.
Yeah. Yeah, McLovin.
I don't like it. It looks like a Good Morning LA show, not a football team. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with that logo.
Well, nobody said they were going to win a Super Bowl with it. But if I go back to 1946, 1951, the Rams logo in 51 looks a lot like this. Even 1970.
Yeah, and where was everybody complaining then?
Yeah.
I didn't hear them then.
Social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big font guy. The Los Angeles Rams' new font is fantastic. I don't know what type it is, but it reminds me of like Monday Night Football font of the 70s.
Here is Eric Dickerson, the Hall of Fame running back who works with the Rams. He was a guest of Doug Gottlieb's show yesterday.
It's like anything. Like I asked the guys, I said, why mess with something that's good?
Right.
I said, it's like the Cowboys don't change their logo. The Raiders don't change their logo.
Right.
The Colts who in Indianapolis.
Right.
I mean, when Baltimore, why? I mean, why?
Preach.
That's Doug Gottlieb and Eric Dickerson. Yeah, but the Cowboys haven't, have they taken any chances at all? Probably not. The Steelers? Probably not. Vikings? I get it. But, you're the Rams and you're trying to keep up with everybody in that market. You're trying to create a buzz. You're trying to do something because you're being passed by the two basketball teams. You want to stay relevant. You want to have somebody talking about you, and that's what you have. Somebody's talking about you. May not be nice, but they're talking about you. Here's the Rams COO, Kevin Demoff, on the logo.
There's good and bad on the logo that's the LA, but I think we knew that change is hard for some. And while I think they will grow to love all of the marks, logos, and fonts, certainly it is a shock to the system to get a look that was different.
Yeah. That was on AM 570 yesterday. Yeah. Took a chance. Yes, Eden.
You know what I think part of it is? It's that the logo, it just doesn't feel complete. It feels like they got through like half of it and then stopped.
Sort of like the Jacksonville Jaguars helmet.
Yeah.
Where you go, wait, what did you start front to back or back to front? But the Rams, they remember when this leaked out, and then a lot of times teams will leak out something to get our reaction. And then they'll go, oh, no, that's, that was just something that we were trying. And then I thought they would go back and go, let's not do that logo. Let's come out with another one. And I'll be damned. They said full speed ahead. We're putting it out. Yeah, Paul.
You also don't know which logos and uniforms will have a shelf life. If you told me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers creamsicles and the guy with the swoosh and the feather, we'd want that back 30 years later, 40 years later. You'd be like, no, that's horrendous. Or the Houston Astros rainbow uniforms. At the time, people thought they were horrendous. Or the White Sox early 80s uniforms. But now people are like, oh, let's get that back. Sometimes ugly takes a while to appreciate.
Thank you. I resemble that remark.
Yeah, we all do.
Thank you. And I would like to say it's Dan Patrick, the sportscaster, not the lieutenant governor of Texas. I was trending last night, and I didn't realize it. But, boy, I was people were responding to me. Hey, you're trending. I go, for what? And then they told me, and they go, why don't you like grandparents? And I go, I don't know what you're talking about. And the lieutenant governor went on Fox News with Tucker Carlson and said that he thinks grandparents be willing to give up their lives to save the grandchildren. Yes, Seton.
Well, you've hit true or like peak fame right now in
Thank you.
2020
Yeah.
in that your face is now in memes all over the internet, and it's for the wrong thing.
Yeah. See, this
So
is where
it's funny. People will post a meme and be like, "This guy wants to like whatever," and then there's just 150 comments saying, "That's the wrong Dan Patrick."
This is why when I tell you guys, hey, any publicity is good publicity, and that is not true because this isn't good publicity. But a lot of people are, hey, just talk about me. I'm okay if you don't talk about me. And if you do, hopefully you're saying something positive, not something like this. Yes, McLevin.
But web traffic is way up. We got Twitter followers. Are you sure this is bad?
I don't have a Twitter account. And I thank God, because I was just telling somebody last night, they're like, why don't you have a Twitter account? I said, I have no interest in reading it. The Danettes will parse through it, but I don't have any interest in reading it. If there's something that I need to know or I made a mistake, then great, we can correct it. I have a 3-hour Twitter show. That's what this is. It's a 3-hour show that's basically my Twitter. Yes, Eden.
I can't wait for people now to quote this show saying, Lieutenant Governor backtracking from controversial comments, says he doesn't believe this stuff.
Also hates Rams logo.
Yeah, right.
And Fritzy, whoever Fritzy is.
Nice. Very nice.
I'm waiting for Tucker Carlson to say, would you like to come on tonight? Yeah, I'd be more than happy to come on and say, I'm not the lieutenant governor of Texas. The Dan Patrick Show with our DP Show store. Go check it out. Spring cleaning. We got $10 shirts, $15 caps, some items up to 65% off, free shipping when you spend $50 or more. Go to danpatrick.com and get your gear today. And bring in Adam Schefter. And we're back after this, 20 after the hour on the Dan Patrick Show. You want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year automatically. No limit on how much you can earn. That's pretty amazing. Even more amazing is that over 99% of the places that take credit cards, according to the 2020 Nielsen report, the Discover credit card is accepted in 99% of those places. And when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing the word yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. Limitations apply.
Where are we, dude?
Oh, this is the legendary Commodore Bar and Restaurant in St. Paul, Minnesota.
It's like an old building. It doesn't look like a bar or a restaurant.
That's because it used to be a speakeasy, so it's kind of hidden.
Cool. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. No, it's a speakeasy. You have to do a special knock. Hello? One of the great things about the Commodore, F. Scott Fitzgerald himself used to drink here.
I love that guy.
Huh. Can you name one F. Scott Fitzgerald book besides Great Gatsby? All right, Paul, we're at the Deco Bar in the Commodore. Now, this is Anthony. Now, Anthony, tell us about some of the luminaries who used to drink here.
F. Scott Fitzgerald drank here.
What do you drink?
Gin. Okay. A lot of gin. So we're going to do our version of Fitzgerald. It's one of our signature cocktails. We use the Du Nord Fitzgerald gin. A little house-made sour.
Whoa.
I'm going to finish that off with a little Angostura bitters.
Do you feel more literary, Paul?
I can read. What's the Commodore's take on an old-fashioned?
So we kind of do a little bit more of a pre-Prohibition style to this.
Pre-Prohibition? That means this is an illegal cocktail.
Yeah, what's the story here? Where was the speakeasy?
The speakeasy was actually down in the basement.
Now, was there a special knock, or how did you get in? I mean, guys like us, we're fine.
You know, you definitely had to know someone to get in.
Our knock is, we know Dan Patrick. We know Dan Patrick.
So we have 4 Roses bourbon, a little bit of simple syrup, some orange bitters, Peychaud, and Angostura.
I can't lie to you. I may not drink that. It's too good looking.
Why do I have a feeling that's not true?
Anthony, thanks a lot for having us.
buddy.
Absolutely.
We're
See you,
heading
Andrew.
out.
See you, Polly.
Take care.
Who are these guys?
Dude, that place was legit.
Yeah, I noticed you tried pretty much every historical drink there.
Well, one in Rome. Where are we off to next? What kind of cool spot you got for us?
Something glamorous. We're going shopping for more wool socks.
Nice. Maybe some long underwear. It's cold, dude.
Dun, 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 dun. Adam Schefter will join us coming up. Popular Adam Schefter, ESPN NFL Insider. He appears on NFL Live, SportsCenter, and other shows. Of course, the Adam Schefter podcast. This week, he talks to the NFL's chief medical officer, Alan Sills, on the impact of the coronavirus. NFL legend Rondé Barber on Tom Brady joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, we downsized here in the man cave. We're down to a couple. I got some Danettes on location there at their homes, but everything else is good.
It's very responsible of you. We are, I think, redefining how the world will work moving forward. I think this will change a lot of things. It'll be interesting to see the fallout of everything.
What do you expect to find out from Alan Sills, the NFL Chief's medical officer, on the impact of the coronavirus?
Well, this is a situation really where I think he gets put front and center, and Alan Sills is a brain surgeon by day and is in charge of all these issues for the NFL. So he is the one that is basically debriefing the teams, debriefing the league office, debriefing Roger Goodell on the daily matters that face the NFL. And I think right now they're just trying to act like everybody else responsibly and do the right thing. And look, the draft is scheduled to go on April 23rd, 25th. I don't see how it's going to happen with teams conducting it from their headquarters and talking to a number of executives, front office personnel, coaches over the weekend. They all think that if the draft happens on those dates, and I don't think there's been too many discussions about moving it so far, Dan, but we're a month out. But if it happens those dates, that this would be the first draft done with remote teleconferencing, where GMs and front office members are in their home and communicating the way that so many of us are these days, which would throw a new wrinkle unless the NFL decides to move it. And Alan Sills, of course, I would think would be at the front and center of that. He's at the front and center of what will be, I think, the cancellation of all off-season activities. Can't imagine how these teams are going to go through anything like that. The 5 teams with new head coaches were supposed to be able to get underway Monday, April 6th. That's not going to happen. Can't imagine it's going to happen anytime soon. And so they've got to figure this all out, just like everybody else has got to figure it all out. You got your people out in the field. The NFL's got its people at home. I'm working from home. ESPN has its people at home. And so that's just the way the world's going to have to operate for a while now.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounded like you were certainly doing more than hinting that the draft is going to be postponed.
No. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'm saying that the way the draft is done, I don't think is going to hold up. Now, again, I want to be very clear. I don't think the NFL has discussed moving it off those dates at this point.
Okay.
I think the NFL is determined to have the draft at that point, April 23rd to the 25th. My just guessing is if it's done that way, it's going to be done with teleconferencing from home, and there's no assurances that that happens. That's my own thing. Dan, look out the window. Look at the world.
Oh, I know. I don't think these scouts can do their due diligence. The teams can't. You can't be in person with somebody for workouts. There's no pro days. That's why, I would be surprised if the draft happens just because we're not allowing people to do their jobs. And
then how about how many times have we seen a team on the clock executing a trade? They got the GM on the phone with the other GM. They got the assistant on the phone with the league office ready to turn it in. It's all these people working together simultaneously. Now, again, we haven't been in the situation to understand how it works, but can you do that with everybody on a FaceTime call? Yeah. Can you do it through Zoom? I don't know. I really have no idea. But if that is the case, then maybe there needs to be more time on the clock for teams, an allowance for that, or maybe they're going to have to move it back and wait till everybody can be back in the office, whether that's a month from now, 2 months from now, 4 months from now. We don't know. We're in a whole new world here.
But you also have Tua, who puts out a video because you can't go and visit him. You can't have a pro day and you have teams go out there and see him in person. Did he help his stock at all? I don't know if you've talked to anybody about it, but I'm assuming you have. Did he help himself out with that video?
Look, he's going to be able to control the narrative and show teams videos of how well he's healing, and it looks encouraging. But the bottom line remains, I don't think it changes anything. Teams, doctors cannot get their hands on him. They cannot put him through a physical examination. We have no idea about the blood flow in that area. We have no idea exactly how that hip is healing. It's one thing to just put out a video where it looks like you're moving well. what's really going on in there. I have no idea, and the teams don't either. You look at it on the surface, and you say, "Hey, you're excited for the young man, and it looks like he's certainly progressing." But some team is going to be making a major investment in Tua, and that investment is going to be in the form of dollars and maybe draft picks by moving up. And he was always going to be something of a medical gamble, not his talent. He's a number 1 overall pick talent. We're not questioning that. We're just saying that there are questions about the hip, the ankles, the durability. That was the question on him coming out. So if that was a question then, without anybody putting him through an examination other than the exam in Indianapolis at the Combine in late February, aren't those questions still going to be there whenever the draft is held? Yes.
We're talking Adam Schefter, the mothership. If I told you a month ago that these moves would happen, what's the one that you would say, I didn't see that one coming?
Of all the moves that have happened over the last 10 or so days, Dan?
Yeah.
I guess Teddy Bridgewater to Carolina. We didn't really talk about that one. No, people thought Teddy would wind up in Tampa, and some guy named Tom Brady took that slot, and it bounced Teddy Bridgewater to Carolina, which also signed the XFL standout P.J. Walker, which means that Kyle Allen gets traded for a 5th-round pick when the Panthers, I don't think we're going to be able to get back anything for Cam Newton. So think about that for a second. Kyle Allen goes for a 5, and you can't even get anything back for Cam Newton. And you can't get anything back for Cam Newton, I don't think. If they can, good for them, because of the world we live in. Again, medical issues, former NFL MVP. Teams will want to examine him, and you're not going to trade for a guy do $19.1 million with medical questions when you can't put the guy through a physical. So that becomes problematic. So in this day and age, in this offseason, Kyle Allen, through draft pick compensation, is deemed more valuable than Cam Newton, as crazy as that is. Or Kyle Allen, yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. I get it right. Okay.
How many teams do you think were truly interested in Brady? To make an offer.
Well, I could tell you this, Dan. I think there were various teams at various points going through various exercises about whether or not they would make a run at Brady. So let's just say a team like the Bears had conversations about whether they should go after Tom Brady and wait. Does that count as a team that's interested or not?
No.
I'm just asking.
Somebody who was ready to make an offer there.
Okay. I would count, in my mind, well, teams that ultimately did, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, 3 teams, probably.
So Patriots, Buccaneers.
Well, I don't even.
Chargers.
Maybe 4. I wasn't even including the Patriots because I don't think there were an offer ever was made there. I mean, really, this was a case where Tom was kind of dictating it to them, and I think they were sitting back waiting for him, and it was mixed up with the salary cap or the CBA being approved that Saturday night or Sunday morning, and so you had to see what rules you were operating under. But then once they knew, it never seemed to take off with New England because Tom had to talk with Robert Kraft to let him know he's moving on. So I don't think they ever sat down, the two sides, and said, "This is what we're thinking of offering you. Will you?" I don't think they have. I don't think they did. And it wasn't one of those situations where that would have been hard to figure out if Tom wanted to be. I think both sides, as much as they love and respect each other, I think that's what people are losing sight of a little bit. I know that people want to focus on the negative aspect of it. Oh boy, there were issues, and Tom didn't feel appreciated, or each guy wanted to do things his own way. Again, I think these guys were together. I mean, Tom and Bill and the Kraft, 20 years, won 6 Super Bowls, right? And so, as it was brought up to me by somebody involved in the process, like there are people who work for companies for 20 years. Is everything perfect? No, but it's a great run. Or there are couples that are married for 20 years. Is everything perfect? Definitely not. And some couples after 20 years, they just say, you know what? Enjoyed it. Great time. Some cherished memories. Just want to go do something different.
I think both sides did the right thing here.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I think that because I was at ESPN for 18 years, and
there you go. Okay, well, when you left there initially, you probably were a little miffed that it didn't go exactly the way you would have wanted, right?
No, I wanted to leave.
Yeah, okay.
I just didn't like how it played out after I left. But I just wanted to have fun. I wasn't having fun. And a lot of it's of my fault, not necessarily ESPN. It had changed. I wanted to move on. So I understand this completely.
Well, so you were Tom Brady before Tom Brady came along.
Yeah, absolutely.
See that, Dan? And let's just call it like it is. You just didn't want to work with me.
Eisen gave me a bad scouting report on you. And
yeah, he did. Well, hey, you weren't the only one to get a bad scouting report on me.
All right, run down. Let's just go quickly here. If you could place these quarterbacks, not where you think they'll end up, but place them, where would you place Jameis Winston?
But let me just say this before we play this game, right?
Yeah.
The hard part is the chairs are all filled, Dan. So now it may be a team that says, let's go take a flyer on this guy that doesn't even make a lot of sense. Like, I'll give you some teams that are out there that I think it would be smart of them to sign a quarterback. Pittsburgh makes some sense to me. Jacksonville has got an opening behind Gardner Minshew. That makes some sense to me. If I were a quarterback, I would just say, you know what, I want to go to a place where I'm going to learn. Like, I want to go to San Francisco and work under Kyle Shanahan. I want to go to Kansas City and work under Andy Reid. And so what's the difference if Jameis Winston gets paid, I'm making this up, $8 million in Jacksonville or $4 million in Kansas City or $3 million, if that's going to improve his long-term status and elevate his game and he's going to learn. So it's not even a question at this point in time of where you think it would make sense so much as is what would be the right fit for that guy, whether it's Jameis or Cam or Andy Dalton or any other quarterback you can ask me. What's going to be the best fit for them long term? And it may be a team that we haven't even talked about with quarterbacks.
Well, I'd see Jameis. Pittsburgh, to me, makes the most sense because he would be better than their backup quarterbacks they have now. He gets to be around Tomlin, Roethlisberger, great organization. And then you get that opportunity maybe in 2 years when Ben decides that he's not going to play anymore. Now you can do what Ryan Tannehill did. You wait your turn, and then you get your opportunity to sort of reinvent yourself. I don't know what Andy Dalton does or Cam Newton does. Yeah. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor is going to be the Band-Aid with the Chargers, then you're not going to bring in somebody else there, and you're going to draft a quarterback. And I get it. I understand what you're saying. And then like Cam Newton to Jacksonville, to me, would make sense from the standpoint of Gardner's your guy, and Cam is still there and can help. But I don't know what their egos are. Like, is Cam going to go, hey, I'll be a backup? No worries. Jameis would probably be a backup, and so would Dalton.
How about Green Bay in the mix, right? Like, that would be another team that you wouldn't necessarily think of. But let me go back up Aaron Rodgers, 37. Let me go learn there and see how that works out. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. Like, how about if you're Cam Newton, is it worth taking a flyer and say, let me go to Dallas in the event that they can't figure out this contract situation, and I'll take over for Dak Prescott?
Well, I thought Jameis Winston with Dallas, because that gives you a little bit of insurance if it doesn't work out with Dak, and now you have Jameis at age 26. I thought that made sense, but people said I was crazy. Am I crazy?
Well, no, Dan, you're never crazy.
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
No, I don't think so. Again, these quarterbacks, it was always going to be a question of there were more. This was the first time ever there were more quarterbacks available than starting jobs ever. And so there were going to be people like Jameis and Cam and any other quarterback we want to put into that situation that were going to be in the spot they are today, where it's hard to find a landing spot. You brought up the Chargers. Yeah, Tyrod Taylor, that's the guy, and they drafted Easton Stick last year, who they happen to like, and I expected to draft a quarterback somewhere high, whether it's round 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be. And so if you draft a guy and you like Easton Stick and you have Tyrod Taylor, who you believe, there's your quarterback room right there.
Yeah. I'll leave you with this. The team that had the worst offseason so far is who?
The worst offseason? Oof. That's a hard one. Who stands out to you?
McLovin, give Adam the candidates.
So we put up a poll: the Texans, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Jaguars, and the Patriots.
I'd say, listen, I never like to put anybody in a category like that, but if you're the Rams, you got to be discouraged about losing the guy in Gurley and having to make some of those moves. It's been a tough off season for them. So that would be a candidate, and that would stand out to me.
Yeah, I could have done it where I would rank in order of these teams who had the best offseason, and then we'd eventually get to the Rams as the worst of those teams.
Yep, there you go, right?
Yeah, it's all semantics there. Thank you for spending some time. I know you're busy, and stay safe, and thank you again.
Hey, Dan, I appreciate you. I hope you and the Danettes stay safe, and once again, sorry we didn't get a chance to work together at ESPN, and you went Brady on us.
Yep. I went rogue on you. Thank you, Adam. That's Adam Schefter, ESPN NFL Insider. I put it in my contract that I couldn't work with Adam Schefter, and they said we can't have that in. And I said, but then I'm going to have to walk. He actually broke the story of me not wanting to work with him. I mean, he's that good. All right, some more Meat Madness songs coming up, and I stumbled upon a new artist, and then I realized he's got his own commercial. So I don't know how I missed out on this guy, but I'll tell you about that artist coming up right after this in the Dan Patrick Show. Once again, if you're just joining us, the Summer Olympics have been canceled, pushed back a year. Cowboys guard Travis Frederick retires at 29. He's got an autoimmune disease, and so this isn't a concussion-related retirement. But, Ross Tucker is somebody that I really respect. I think he's a very smart guy. And he said, we should stop saying that, somebody was forced to retire at a young age. He said 29, that's a good NFL career. But the way we look at it, we say, oh, he had to retire early. Ross Tucker, who played in the NFL, he said, we really need to stop saying guys in their late 20s that played 7 to 9 years of pro football retired, quote, early, especially when they've had a myriad of orthopedic issues. Gronk had that, a significant concussion history in Luke Kuechly, and a rare nerve disorder with Travis Frederick. Ross Tucker says, not everyone can or wants to be Tom Brady. So I appreciate that from Ross Tucker. We'll have some Meat Friday songs for you. I stumbled upon this new artist. My oldest daughter will usually send me music and then say, try this. And I started listening to one song, Anderson .Paak, P-A-A-K. It's Anderson, and then there's a period, and then it's P-A-A-K. And I heard it, and I said, he sounds like James Brown. And I sent it to Seton. And then I didn't hear from Seton for about a day, and I go, oh, that didn't go well. And Seton sends me a note back. He goes, boy, this is great.
Oh, unbelievable. What a voice, man.
And then I'm watching TV last night, and a Modelo commercial comes on, and it's for Anderson .Paak. And I'm going, this guy's been right there in front of me. I didn't even notice. And I started listening to his music. We can't play the song that I really love on the air. Not appropriate, but what an unbelievable voice. Spectacular voice. Yeah, Paulie.
I'm on his social media now, and he's doing a duet with Justin Timberlake, so this guy's doing all right.
Yeah, he's got one of those voices when you hear it, you go, wow, that's different. So Anderson .Paak is the artist I've been listening to. Coming up, we'll look at a mock draft, an interesting mock draft at the top.
Day 4 of the barbecue tour. We're somewhere pretty special.
This place is at Barbecue Destination, Killen's Barbecue in Pearland, Texas. Ronnie Killen, a legend in the meat community.
Ronnie loves us.
He loves us. And I got a bonus. Our buddy, our bro, J.J. Watt, is on his way down right now to chop it up, eat some Q with us.
J.J. Watt's coming here right now?
I'm 90% sure he'll be here any minute. Let's go in.
Yes, let's go. All right, Ronnie, we've been here and we've seen the huge line some days. What makes Killen so special?
We start out with good product and we season it and we just take care of it and, try not to mess it up. Look how juicy that brisket is. Juice just coming right out.
I'm ready to eat. Is that JJ's car?
No, it's definitely not JJ's car.
He drives a big black truck.
That's the 10th car that's not JJ's car.
All right, well, he's going to miss the meal, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's go time.
Thank you, Ronnie. God bless you. God bless America. If I'm a young guy out there who wants to learn about barbecue, what's one tip someone at home could use?
I would say temperature and allowing the meat to rest. You don't want to cook it too fast, and also you want to let it rest so you can allow the juice to go to the outer edges of the brisket.
Now, like you, we are good friends with J.J. Watt. He comes in here all the time. We know that. He's supposed to meet us here. Does he usually park in back? Is there traffic?
Yeah, usually in the back. He parks in the back.
He should be here any time, right?
He should be.
It tastes so good when it hits your mouth.
Yeah, it hits your lips.
Yeah.
So let's say it's your last meal, and you could have only one thing off your own menu. What would it be?
My fried chicken on Sunday.
I've had your fried chicken on Sunday. It was the greatest day of my life. No offense to my kids and wife. I stand by it. It was the greatest day of my life, the fried chicken that Sunday.
Oh, dude, what a meal.
An all-time barbecue meal, dude.
Sorry JJ couldn't show up.
I don't know what happened. I texted him like 30 times.
Yeah, sure.
Texans have OTAs?
All right, let's hit it, buddy.
Want to wait a little longer?
Been here 4.5 hours. Maybe next time JJ will show up, buddy.
Maybe next time. What are you making? Oh.
I've got a 7-minute window here. I got 3 minutes and 11 seconds to go. And I made enough for 2 since it's just you and me.
Spicy sausage.
So I was figuring 1 plate, 2 forks.
Old school.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, we like to conserve. So you have spicy sausage and egg whites. I don't see Van Pelt making dinner during his show at night. I'm not saying he doesn't. I just say we don't see it. Oh. Thank you. Thank you.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave.
Aren't we supposed to be inside?
I'm actually most fascinated right now with Andrew's Patriots blanket.
And remotely, in front of a New England Patriots blanket for no apparent reason.
Why do you have a Patriots blanket, McLovin?
I am close personal friends with Brian Hoyer, so I think I'm changing allegiance.
Did you take that from one of our Super Bowl sets?
I'm having audio problems, Dan. I just heard what you said there.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
He's Mark Cuban, the Mavericks, so joining us on the program. I know the NFL has been criticized, continuing business as usual here.
We want diversion. That's a sense of normalcy. That gives us something, like to your point, to divert our attention, to make us feel a little better. So, you know what? If people want to argue about who's going to be drafted by the NFL or the NBA, that's a great thing. That's not a bad thing.
Joined by the 4 Danettes.
I was sequestered.
It's Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Tuesday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Dan Patrick, the sportscaster. I'll say it one more time. I've said it at the top of each hour now. I did not have any comments about grandparents last night. I approve of this message, not the one last night, by the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, who was saying to Tucker Carlson on Fox News that grandparents would be happy to give up their lives so their grandchildren could live a healthy life. I did not approve of that message. Yes, that was not me, although I heard from a lot of people. I heard from a lot of people that I didn't know, and they didn't have nice things to say to me or about me. But I'm not on Twitter, so it was just I heard that through the grapevine. This program brought to you by Rock Auto, rockauto.com, all the parts your car or truck will ever need. I have that 53 5-window Chevy pickup. I was having some problems finding some parts, and I went to rockauto.com. They're there for me 24/7. You got the part brands, prices, features you want anytime. And if you're told dealer only or no longer available, don't believe them. They delivered it right to the man cave here. Didn't waste time hunting for the parts, phoning, driving, waiting in lines. Go to rockauto.com today and make sure you tell them that we sent you. You can write Dan Patrick in the "How did you hear about us" box so they know that we sent you all the parts your car or truck will ever need. rockauto.com. Lance Zierlein works for NFL.com, and what Lance does every year is he'll put out his mock drafts, and he has some strong opinions. And he's not afraid of criticizing a draft pick, because when we watch the draft this year, whenever that is, the analysts on the NFL Network and the mothership are probably going to be all in unison, and everybody throws out verbal bouquets. Not every pick is a great pick. Lance just looks at this and says, this is how I assess this draft pick or this team and where they're taking this player. He'll join us coming up. And a lot of times we'll pick out the negative things that he writes about these football players. And then when they show up at the Super Bowl, we have them read their draft profile, and it's all negative stuff. You know, Drew Brees kept his. He was so angry. J.J. Watt was angry. He wanted names. He goes, did people really write this? And then he was like, who wrote this? And we didn't want to tell him who wrote it, but basically said he'll never be a successful pass rusher. Now, these aren't all Lance's opinions, by the way, but he does have strong opinions, and we thought, let's have him on and maybe have him talk, give him a chance to talk about some players and say some nice things. He thinks that the Bengals are going to trade that number 1 overall pick to the Dolphins. So we'll ask him if he thinks that's what they should do or he thinks that's what they will do. The Olympic news, the IOC has pushed the Olympics back a year, and that appears to be the smart decision because there was going to be, it felt like there was going to be some unrest here with the countries. They were going to be the ones canceling the Olympics, not the IOC. And from what I was told, Canada said we're not sending our athletes. Australia was they were kind of debating whether they were going to. I think you were going to see a lot more countries just say we're not going. The IOC got out in front of this. Also, Peyton Manning has turned down ESPN again. I don't know if he was going to be offered Tony Romo money, but here's a couple things I was told by somebody from ESPN that if he could have Al Michaels, then he would have been interested in this. Al's busy at NBC, and the person at ESPN said NBC never made Al Michaels available for a trade. And I said, really? And they said, no, they did not. And the person at ESPN said, I would be surprised if Al didn't sign a new deal and that Mike Tirico is going to do games on Sunday night. He'll do some games, and then there'll be a transitional period after the Super Bowl in Los Angeles that Al wants to do and deserves to do. Then Mike Tirico will probably move in to the main play-by-play role. But as far as ESPN goes and what they were going to pay, and I said, well, what was ESPN going to give NBC? And I was told by someone at ESPN some SEC games. And I went, okay, so the trade would have been SEC games for Al Michaels. But I was told that NBC never entertained that idea. Yeah, Paul.
Mike Tirico left ESPN 3 years ago for NBC. If Mike Tirico were still at ESPN, what do you think would happen in the Monday Night booth?
Peyton Manning would be there alongside him.
Wow.
I really believe that. Because Peyton knows from John Gruden. And John Gruden, from what I'm told Peyton how great Mike is to work with. Now, we know how great Mike is, but how great he is to work with, and that's what you want. I'm guessing Peyton has no relationship with Joe Tessitore, but here was the other thing I was told by the person at ESPN. The last thing NBC wanted to do is give ESPN the opportunity to bring in Peyton Manning, then they get good games. And you might be taking games away from, because imagine that attraction. If you have Al Michaels and Peyton Manning, you can make an argument you're going to get great games because ESPN has not received great games on Monday night. Now, if you get Al and you bring in Peyton, the NFL wants to showcase their games and they want the best people broadcasting. That's why NBC always got their pick of the litter because they had Al and Chris. And NBC knew that with the, Freddie Gaudelli is the producer there, Drew Esikoff, you had a great team giving you Sunday Night Football, better than any other network. And I say that having worked there, but if I didn't work there, I would say Al and Chris, and I've known Freddie for 25 years, and Drew, they do a great job. Michelle Tafoya. If you get Peyton Manning and you get Al Michaels, and now you put those games on ABC, your Monday night game on ABC, now you can say, can we get a Super Bowl here? And you got the negotiation. The TV negotiations are going to be going on. They already started. Quietly, from what I'm told. But, Yeah, just some of the information, and that was from somebody at ESPN saying, yeah, we didn't think that they wanted to strengthen, our Monday night team, and then they would get a better schedule. Yeah, Paul.
You always see reports out there that Peyton Manning is going to be involved being a president like John Elway of a team someday. Do you think a guy like Peyton is holding off on that because he knows that's full-time work and he's got kids? I don't know his kid's situation, but could you see him saying not yet because it's going to be all in?
Well, he strikes me as he has a lot of different interest, and he's really good. His Peyton Manning, Peyton's Places, details, he's really good. And so that part of me wants to see how he would do in a real game, just like Tony Romo. But I was told that the money, that was not the issue, because I think Peyton was saying, if you're paying Romo that, then you're going to be paying me that. Yeah, Paul.
But look at Mike Mayock and John Gruden. They were cruising on TV. They had great careers, making tons of dough, easy, no pressure lives. But they're like, you know what the thing that's missing? Competing. And even though they got a boatload of cash from the Raiders, John Gruden gave up as good of a job as there is, and Mayock was right there. He was just a tick below him in prosperity of what they're doing in the media, and they both bailed.
Well, Gruden still had some unfinished business as far as coaching, and he was relatively young. Mayock had been demoted by NBC, and I think that he realized, hey, if I can do this, and by all accounts, he's very good at what he does as a GM, and to work with Gruden, and Gruden, the whole thing of going into Vegas, and Gruden got paid. I mean, Gruden's getting more money than he got at ESPN. I don't know what Tony Romo's new deal, the trickle down with Collinsworth and Troy Aikman, what are those guys going to be asking for? Because you can bet their agents are probably already discussing the strategy behind that. Cam Newton just got released by the Carolina Panthers. And as Adam Schefter said last hour, we just don't know. Is there going to be a team that comes in and says, let's take a chance on this guy? If I'm Jacksonville, I can get Cam Newton. I'd go after him. I'd just say, do you want to come in and be a backup to Gardner Minshew? We're not quite sure about Gardner Minshew yet. He's fun, interesting. Great personality, Minshew mania, but I can't go all in on Gardner Minshew and say, yeah, this is who he's going to be. But you got a cheap quarterback. You got rid of that contract, the Nick Foles contract. You bring in Cam Newton, I would look at that. Jameis Winston to Pittsburgh, I would look at that. Jameis Winston to Dallas in case you don't get Dak Prescott. I would consider that as well. And then, as Adam Schefter said, you can't rule out some of these, like somebody going to the Packers to be a backup. Could Jameis Winston go there? Could Andy Dalton? There's three guys, and they're probably not starting this year. Yeah, Paul.
From a content standpoint, for what you do for a living, would you rather have Jameis Winston on the Cowboys or Cam Newton on the Cowboys? There's no wrong answer, by the way, just for drama and coverage.
Well, Jameis is always entertaining, but I hope Cam gets another chance. I hope he's healthy enough to get another chance. But with what's going on with the coronavirus, he can't work out for people. Tua, somebody's going to take Tua very high in the draft. And, but that contract is going to be different than, what Cam is getting. Cam is like $19 million, but he just got cut. So what can I bring him in for? Can I bring him in for $8 million guaranteed for 1 year, 2 years for $15 million, something like that? Jameis Winston, same way, buy low, sell high. Andy Dalton, same way. So somebody is going to get a pretty good backup. Yeah, McLevin.
Don't you think teams will be afraid of Cam and lesser extent Jameis because it'll be like Tebow, where every reporter is going to go to him? Like the starter is going to get overwhelmed by the Camness of it all.
The Camness. I like that.
Like Gardner Minshew, he can't have Cam Newton sitting behind him. It'd be too much pressure or something.
Well, then do I purposely go out and get a quarterback who's not very good as
well,
a backup?
You don't want, it's not exactly like Colin Kaepernick, but you don't want your backup to be awesome. You don't want your backup to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, right?
Well, look at the Saints. They had Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. So they still have Taysom, and Teddy's now in Carolina, but Teddy came in and won 5 games for him. How many of these quarterbacks can stay healthy? Who plays more games in Indianapolis this year? Jacoby Brissett or Phillip Rivers? I'm just curious. Just curious. Just curious. Because even though it's a great offensive line, you know, Phillip Rivers is old by NFL standards here. Who's going to be Brady's backup in Tampa? Do we know who his backup is? McLevin?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Drew Stanton, did they sign, or somebody like that? They have somebody, one of those journeymen.
Yeah.
No, it might not be him, but someone exactly equivalent to him.
But that'd be a team that you would want to have a younger quarterback that you could, you know, Brady is there for 2 years. 2 years. And Ryan Griffin is the backup.
Is that a made-up name? That's like a WB quarterback. Ryan Griffin.
Ryan Griffin stars in I Replaced Tom Brady. But that'd be a team where that'd be a team that if they didn't just have him would be a great place for Jameis Winston.
That's hot. The next home for
hot. So Tampa announces they're bringing back Jameis Winston. You could bring in Cam Newton there. Brady is not going to be threatened by that. And in that division, would you love to have Cam in that division to help you out a little bit? Not that you need help with the Panthers apparently this year, but I don't know. Andrew Marchand does a great job covering this business for the New York Post. He said the following. He wrote the following. Before Drew Brees re-signed with the Saints, he received interest from all the TV networks, according to sources. NBC Sports wanted to create a spot for Brees on its pregame show next to Mike Tirico, Rodney Harrison, and Tony Dungy. I had been told by somebody at ESPN that they were looking at him as a fallback if they didn't get Peyton Manning for Monday night. It's a great fallback, but, you know, Drew decided that he was going to sign up for 2 more years with the Saints. But Andrew Marchand with that, with Drew Brees. And it makes sense. You know, I get that you're going to look at the next guy who's – it's better to go in a year early than it is try to go in a year late. And if you get that opportunity, although Drew says, hey, I want to continue to play 2 more years. I get it. That's a great team. And a chance to go to the Super Bowl. He wants 1 more. And what would that do to Drew Brees' legacy if he has another Super Bowl win? Two is always big for a quarterback. You know, you get the 1 and we go, okay, he's got 1. When you get to 2, it just feels like if Aaron Rodgers had 2, people would probably say he's the second greatest quarterback of all time. Whether that's true or not, and some people already think he's the greatest quarterback. But if you have 2, it's just different. The way people view you. We'll take a break. Lance Zierlein of NFL.com on why he thinks the Bengals will or should trade that number 1 overall pick to the Miami Dolphins. He'll join us coming up next here on The Dan Patrick Show. Okay, I don't know if it was worth waiting through the commercial break, but Jordan promised that he would give a tip. I don't know if it's a good tip or not, but this is the one thing every amateur should know or ask you about.
They need to hit more club into greens. So what'll happen, what I see a lot, is somebody will hit a 7-iron on the range, and it'll go 180 yards. And they just assume they're going to hit the 7-iron 180 yards every time they hit it. And they'll get on the course, they'll have 180 yards, and they pull a 7-iron, and they come up short of the green. And they're wondering, because your contact's not as consistent as, say, ours is. Therefore, when you hit it off the heel, toe, thin, fat, whatever it is, I mean, it knocks 10 to 15 yards off the ball. So if you just hit more clubs, swing a little easier, you probably have a better chance of better contact. I've never seen an amateur flush one out of pin and go over the green in my life. I've never seen it happen, unless it were a jumper or something.
Always short.
Always short or good. I mean, short or good.
You're
the
never
other
gonna
thing,
you're never going to see one of these four amateurs flush one over this screen.
Well, there you go. So the other thing is this. So for us, whenever you see us working on the range, we're almost always working on the same thing. Something in your basics have gotten off. Something in your setup. Posture, ball position, alignment. If you have those checked down, typically we start to figure out the rest of what's
How banged up are your hands?
Yeah, they're pretty banged up.
God, it's golf.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been trying to trend the right way, so I've been grinding a little bit. And I'm bleeding here.
Wait a minute. Show the. If I said pick the sport that hand is involved in.
Yeah, this got cut open in here somehow.
Well, there's some grip pressure issues here, aren't there?
I know I got kind of a little bit of a weird grip, and it just makes these calluses. And if I got rid of the calluses, they would just blister up.
I think there's offensive linemen in the NFL who have better hands than
I don't know. Instead of it being calluses, their knuckles are normally actually turned sideways. Like, mine are fine. They're
Go to danpatrick.com. You can vote on Meat Madness, and we got 2 weeks for the opening round there. Make sure everybody gets an opportunity to have their songs played on the show. We'll talk to Lance Zierlein, who covers the NFL draft. He's got his new mock draft out. What should the Bengals do at number 1 overall? So we'll talk to him on loan from NFL.com. Coming up, Terry Bradshaw was on Get Up with Mike Greenberg this morning and had some things to say about Tom Brady and why he left New England. I thought they were interesting and wanted to bring them to your attention. Here's Terry Bradshaw.
Why would Tom Brady want to leave New England after 20 years? My question is, number one, at 43, why do you want to keep playing unless it's records out there and that you're striving for, or you want to put them so high that you feel like nobody will ever get to them? Okay, that would be number one. Number two, you cannot tell me that you're wanting to leave New England, but everything is okay between you and Bill Belichick. That just doesn't resonate with me as the right thing. I don't believe that's the case at all. I think after 20 years, why play? And number two, why move? Why not stay right there? What are you going to prove?
Well, I think he wanted to prove that he can leave and that it was the right move for him. I have no problem with this. He proved that he could go in and say, as great as this place is, as much as we've done together, I want to go and be happy and enjoy playing football. Terry should know this. He didn't have fun playing in Pittsburgh with Chuck Noll. That's well documented. And if Terry could have gotten out of there, forced his way out of there, he probably would have, even though it was a winning situation. He had maybe the best defense I ever saw. He had great offensive weapons as well. But Terry wasn't happy with the way Chuck Noll coached him. Tom Brady hasn't been happy with the way Bill Belichick has coached him. Yes, there's results there, but there's a price that you pay when you're around somebody that, yes, the bottom line is winning. Are we having any fun? How many players have said this? They were there and they realized, yeah, you can win. Yeah, I can go in there for a year, but man, I couldn't put up with this for 20 years. Brady made the decision. Yeah, I can't criticize the decision because he made it. He made it in what he thought was his best interest. It's his life. And I go back to, and believe me, I'm not trying to put myself in any category that Tom Brady is in. But 18 years at ESPN, I wasn't having fun. And I decided to leave. I was critical. I criticized it. You know, how could you possibly leave? You're making career suicide. And I said, I don't care what happens. I want to enjoy this. And thankfully I did, because ESPN was moving on from me and I was moving on from them. And we both made the right decision. I don't miss them. Maybe they don't miss me either. We both did okay. I'm doing what I want to do. And that's why I understand what Tom Brady did. Hey, you're set. You know, your legacy's set. Now you want to do something that's fun. And sometimes you got sand kicked in your face a little bit there. You know, he's been the bully. Now he's going to be with Tampa Bay. Now let's see what you can do now. Let's see what Bill Belichick can do. But they made the decision that they wanted to make. I don't think Belichick cared to have Tom Brady back, and I don't think that Brady wanted to go back into that. And Adam Schefter laid out the breadcrumbs in October. He said, Brady is selling his house. His trainer is selling his house too. That's really the first indication was, all right, Tom's going to maybe relocate here. All right. Lance Zierlein works with NFL.com. Their draft analyst, co-host of The Bench in Houston. And Lance kind enough to join us. Good morning, Lance. How are you?
Doing good. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. I watched with great interest the mock draft when it was revealed. Now, can you tell me if you think the Bengals should trade the pick or will trade the pick, the number 1 overall pick?
Well, I don't think they will trade the pick. I think the should is always going to be cased in. I have to know what the package would look like. See, here's the problem. In my mock draft, a lot of times my first 2 mock drafts, I like to create some contingency plans because drafts rarely go the way people think. People get so upset about mock drafts, and they're just an ability to work through, at least for me, to work through some different scenarios. And so I decided, so Zach Taylor was the coach, the head coach of the Bengals, was the coach of Justin Herbert at the Senior Bowl. So he had, an opportunity to spend some time with them. You've had some rumblings about Joe Burrow maybe not wanting to be a Bengal. And so I decided and Miami has all the draft capital in the world. So I decided to go with Miami trading up to 1, and let's explore that and see what happens to the rest of the draft board. Now, Miami has plenty to make this draft happen. What it would look like to trade, that's kind of irrelevant to me because there is enough over the next 2 years draft capital-wise to make this happen. Would I do it? I can tell you this. I think Joe Burrow is a lot better than Justin Herbert. I think Joe Burrow is better than Tua Tagovailoa. Do I think Joe Burrow is a generational quarterback? I do not think he's a generational quarterback. I don't throw that term around lightly. Drew Brees is generational. We happen to be lucky enough to have Tom. I think Drew's generational, but he's not even the best quarterback in this generation. He might be third behind Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. So I don't think Joe Burrow is generational. With that said, you really need a quarterback, but the Bengals are not a quarterback away. So if there was a package, Dan, that was strong enough, I would absolutely listen. Now, it would have to be a very strong package for me to be willing to move out of Joe Burrow, but I would absolutely listen. I think you're foolish if you just say we're going to lock in on one guy unless you really do believe that he is that special quarterback, and maybe that's what Cincinnati believes.
Where are your doubts with Joe Burrow?
Well, so my doubts, and I know what they are. I watched him in the summer. In the summer, I watched Joe Burrow. I thought he looked like a 6th rounder. I watched all the quarterbacks, and I just put him away, put him to bed. And I went to the game that they played University of Texas, and I was like, whoa, this is a little different Joe Burrow than I remember seeing. From an accuracy standpoint, he was more accurate. His placement was better. And as the season wore on, I continued to have that same mindset of, well, we'll see the real Joe Burrow pop up soon, and it never happened. And about halfway through, I started buying into what my eyes were telling me. And as I got into the tape and really studied the tape, it's really quite simple. Joe Brady, I think the move of Justin Jefferson from the outside receiver spot to slot number 1 was huge. Jamar Chase becoming a big-time prospect on the outside was huge. But maybe more importantly, Joe Brady, the passing game coordinator, he basically helped to craft an offense that didn't ask Joe Burrow to throw a ton of throws outside the numbers, and especially field side, which is the long side of the field. Mm-hmm. That was something that was really wide open in 2018, like wide open in terms of their game plan. Joe Burrow was asked to throw a bunch of those throws, and he struggled, and that was not something that he did well. So I isolated every throw he made, intermediate, from 10 to 20 yards, outside the numbers, every one of them. And this year he was 21 of 43. That's less than 50%, 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So I went and looked at all 43 of those throws. I wanted to see what all of them look like. And Joe throws with incredible timing and accuracy. But those are very, very tight windows when you don't have a big arm. And I think he has a slightly below average arm by NFL standards. And when he threw field side, which is across the field, those same throws, you could see the nose of the ball tail down. It was an even harder throw. So I think managing those throws, Dan, staying away from those throws is going to be the key. I don't think it's something that will sink him as a prospect, but I watched all the throws from last year and all the throws from this year. This is the throw that he struggles with, the intermediate ball outside the numbers that requires either exquisite placement and timing or a big arm. You got to have one or the other. He's got one of them, which is why he can survive. But you don't want to make a living if you're Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. You don't want to make a living of having to throw that throw.
Given the circumstances, the situation in the United States of just travel, does this help or hurt Tua Tagovailoa?
I think it hurts him. Teams want to have their own medical staffs be able to do whatever needs to be done. That's why every medical staff goes to the combine, and then there's a second combine done or for medical rechecks. Teams want their own doctors to tell them, okay, is there a long-term stability issue with Tua Tagovailoa? Well, give us an idea if there's future durability or degenerative condition. And so I think that's where Tua is hurt. I saw the video. He looks great moving around and sliding around. I think teams would love to be able to put him through the paces with certain turns and certain movements just to double check. And I think more importantly, they would really love to get their medical staffs to have their own staff's own opinion on his particular injury/recovery. So I would typically say that would hurt him. I'm still going to assume he's going third and that Detroit will trade out of the third pick and somebody else will move into that spot. That's what I'm working off of. But I also don't have access to the medicals. Teams are going to have to feel really good about the medicals to draft him with the third pick.
You know what makes me nervous, though, Lance, is, and we're talking to Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, their draft analyst, is we're seeing a small sample size with some of these high draft picks where you've seen 1 year. Dwayne Haskins was great for 1 year. Kyler Murray for 1 year. Baker Mayfield, well, a little bit more than that. Joe Burrow was great for 1 year. I don't know if Justin Herbert was ever great for 1 year, but consistent. Tua was certainly great for 1.5 years, maybe. Like it used to be, you got a chance to watch a quarterback develop for 2 years, maybe 3 years. And I don't know what Washington has with Dwayne Haskins. I don't even know if Washington knows what they have with him. Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe the Giants struck gold in Daniel Jones, who they could have gotten later in the draft, I feel like. But to try to assess that as a draft analyst, you're not seeing much. So how hard is that to assess who is real and who's not? Like Jordan Love, I watched him last year and I went, wait, what am I supposed to be looking at here? And then somebody said, well, he didn't have talent around him. I'm like, okay. Is he a poor man's Mahomes? Like, okay. Like you just start hearing this stuff, and it's hard to really assess how good somebody can be or will be.
Yeah, it is. So you're right about that. And I think with Pat Mahomes, we actually had a little bit more. I had more tape to get around. I made a mistake with Pat Mahomes worrying about the things that he did where he would throw off platform, and he did some Jay Cutler-ish type of stuff, which, Jay at one point was a really good NFL quarterback, but he really defaulted into some bad habits. And I focused too much on that as opposed to the things that he could do and the things that he would be able to be coached on the next level. So he was a big learning. I had him as a second rounder. I learned a lot from where I missed on Mahomes. You have to study where you missed. That's the most important thing. Deshaun Watson, we had tape on Deshaun Watson. So all the nitpicky stuff that we all did on Deshaun Watson, well, guess what? He was a winner. We saw him in high-leverage situations. Mitchell Trubisky, never saw him in those high-leverage situations. Yeah. And he doesn't necessarily rise to the occasion when they occur in the NFL. I think Dwayne Haskins, same issue. You have 1 year wonder. Joe Burrow is in that same situation. You can't tell me, and I had an executive tell me this, Dan. I said, let me tell you got to get on board with Burrow. He's a different guy. He's completely different, and he is different this year than last year. And this executive said, Lance, you can't tell me I have to ignore the 18 tape. It's impossible.
I know.
You don't tell somebody in the NFL that you have to ignore the previous season. Similarly, you can't tell me only watch 2018 on Jordan Love and ignore 2019. You can't do it. I understand the difficulties that Love faced with all his turnover, but how you play is how you play. And I think the one-year wonder stuff, I think that is a concern for some NFL teams surrounding especially the quarterback position, because you haven't gone through the different, you haven't experienced the different highs, lows. When did Dwayne Haskins face adversity? In 1 year, you're going to face adversity? Not really. Not like you're going to face in the NFL. Deshaun Watson faced some adversity. So I think that's something that you make a really good point there. Seeing 1 year against especially sometimes lesser competition, what's that telling me? If I've got more tape, I may pick at you more like I do with Tua, but I know what I've got with Tua.
I'll leave you with this. I know Trevor Lawrence is great for next year. Justin Fields, give me another quarterback that we should keep an eye on. I have a bet with McLovin that Trevor Lawrence doesn't go number 1 overall.
Woo! I mean, did you get odds on that?
No,
just a tough one.
Just a gut feeling. Just a gut feeling.
If he doesn't go 1, then it would probably have to be Justin Fields if he came out. And really, those two are the top 2 that I know, to be just perfectly honest, Dan. Right now I'm so locked in on this year, I won't really get to next year's sophomores who will be juniors, if you know what I mean, because that's where the class usually starts, as whoever last year's sophomore class was moving into the junior. I can tell you this, in terms of Fields because to me, those are the 2, Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence. Once again, we're going to have 3 years of Lawrence playing at a very high level or in high-level games. And we could have the potential to have elite physical traits combined with elite production in high-level matchups and games. That's going to be hard for Justin Fields to circumnavigate, because no matter what Justin Fields does, I mean, we've seen what Trevor Lawrence can do in the big situations. I don't think he's flawless. People are overplaying that a little bit. Trevor Lawrence has some flaws right now, but it won't be until I really dig into the tape that I can give a real strong analysis of how he reads defenses, makes decisions, things like that. But I would tell you this: I like McLovin's stance there. If you want to throw part of that to me, I'll buy some of that.
All right. Thank you, Lance. Great to talk to you, and we appreciate your time.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
That's Lance Zierlein, NFL.com draft analyst, co-host of The Bench in Houston. All right, McLovin. I still stay with my bet. I don't know.
You convinced me to go the other way because of Sam Darnold. I was also sure about Sam Darnold, and he went, 3?
Deshaun Watson, right?
You go down the list.
Tank for Tua.
We never got it right.
We were tanking for Tua. I don't know. Maybe Trevor Lawrence is all of that in a bag of chips. Maybe so. Maybe. But I'm going to go against conventional wisdom. Yes, McLovin.
If I offered you to switch sides right now, would you do it? Because I'm considering.
Well, maybe you join my side, and then somebody else may take the bet with Trevor Lawrence, his side of it.
Yeah, if it's a wheel of punishment, I'm with you because I feel very nervous. It's a long year.
Yeah, I know Trevor Lawrence has been the chosen one for years. But that freshman year to his sophomore year, I didn't see great improvement. And, maybe I'm going to see great improvement this year. But he has everything that you would want. He's athletic. He's tall. He's got a big arm. I mean, he looks like your franchise quarterback. But it's just, we've been sold on quarterbacks a year before. And then you get to that point and you go, wait, I thought this guy was supposed to be going number 1. Yeah, McLovin.
What's your first impression of Justin Fields?
I'd like to see a little bit more because this goes back to when I watched Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State. He had one game, it felt like there was a pressure situation, regular season, that was Purdue. That was it. So to try to handicap that and go, boy, I got you figured out. And Lance brings up the great point. When you're under stress, when you throw an interception, like that's when I find out about you, not when you're lighting up the night, torching Michigan's defense. I want to know when it's a struggle, when the odds are against you or you're not playing well, your team's not playing well. You have to have a big throw. That's what I want to see out of a franchise quarterback. Yeah, Paulie.
Remember a bunch of years ago when Josh Rosen, I think he was a sophomore, had that unbelievable game, the comeback against
that
Texas
A&M?
against A&M?
Yeah.
I was like, that's Josh Rosen. Whenever anyone criticized him, I'd be like, do you see what he did to A&M in a pressure situation? He lit those guys up. And I was sure that Josh Rosen, once he got to the league, all the college stuff would wash out and he'd just be a clutch quarterback. And
Does he still have value? He's the backup quarterback in Miami, right? But if they draft Tua, what happens to Josh Rosen? Yes, Eden.
And wasn't Josh Rosen super cocky?
Oh boy!
Was that just before the draft or just after the draft? Like,
well, he had
there's a bunch of
the
teams-
hot tub in his room. Didn't he have the jacuzzi in his?
That was a plus in my book. In my
Well,
draft
yeah, that's
book,
just understanding a good time.
Yeah.
That's not.
the man who knows how to have a good time.
Yeah.
Don't wave a good time in front of his face.
All right, we'll take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learned, what's in store tomorrow, all of that coming up right after this.
Day 5 of the Taco Tour, Pabst and Perloff. We made it 5 days. I can't wait for this one. Taco truck, Santa Monica. What's the story here?
Okay, this is a special one. It's called Koji, and it's fusion. Korean flavors, Mexican flavors.
A lot of people suggested this place on Twitter, and I guess it got famous because of social media in the LA area.
Yeah, it started the whole trend of using social media to tell people where trucks were going to be. Paul, you look confused.
I don't recognize a lot of things on here. Where's the chorizo? Where's the al pastor?
I want you to expand your horizons here. I know this is all unusual, but this is sort of my world. Try not to embarrass me here. Don't ask for the normal stuff.
Gotcha. I'll put myself in your hands, big boy. Okay. Last one, big boy. I have one short rib taco, one spicy pork taco, one calamari taco. I'm gonna go with the sweet chili chicken quesadilla. Health it up a little bit. You know, I knew it would happen. Mr. Hollywood is doing phone calls, doing interviews, setting up meetings. I'm carrying his tacos around like an idiot. Should have saw this coming.
Paulie, talk to me about this thing right here.
Sweet chili quesadilla. So when you go to a taco place, don't be beholden to tacos. We're not telling you just eat tacos. We're saying that's the base. The base, kind of like dessert.
You know what I love about this? The fusion, the Korean and the Mexican food. Fusion is a great concept, like the Danettes and Dan. 5 people who are completely different, who fuse together to make one great team.
Yeah. No, we're basically 5 guys who do the same thing every day. Watch sports, make pithy jokes, eat the same food together because we hang out with nobody but each other.
You're probably right. Let's just eat.
I liked a lot of things here. The short rib was great. The spicy pork was great. I love the calamari tacos. Those were my favorite.
My favorite was the sweet chicken chili quesadilla that you ordered, and I took half of them.
Yeah, you more than
Sorry
half.
about that.
When you get out to LA, check out all these videos and know where to go when you get out here. It's been a lot of fun. We're gonna go eat some more tacos off camera. Dude, the tour's over.
It's never over, Paul.
Happy birthday, Peyton Manning. Turns 44 today. He has the longest streak of consecutive seasons with 25 passing touchdowns or more in NFL history. It's not even close who's second. Peyton did it for 16 consecutive years. Now, 2011 doesn't count because he missed that season, but from 1998 to 2014, Peyton Manning, 16 consecutive years where he threw for at least 25 touchdown passes. Second on the list, Drew Brees had an 11-year window. Phillip Rivers, 11 consecutive years where he had 25 or more touchdowns. Tom Brady did it 10 consecutive years from 2009 to 2018. Then it goes down to Dan Marino, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, and Kirk D. Cousins with 5. And I was also curious to start a career. So Russell Wilson is the only other player with a streak of multiple seasons, 25 or more touchdowns to start his NFL career. And he did it in his first 2 years. Peyton did it in his first 16 years. Now, does that work against Mahomes because he played just a little bit his rookie year? I mean, that's not fair, is it? But, yeah, pretty impressive. So, 44 years of age, Peyton Manning. Jeff in Detroit, back on the program. What's on your mind today, Jeff?
What up, though, Dan? Just thanking you for being on the air. It's like being trapped in a dark-ass crib. When your show come on, crack that window open, let a little bit of that light in, baby, for sure. Hey, listen, I was wondering, man, in our time that we're living in right now, do you remember a better collective group of quarterbacks being in the NFL? Brady, Watson, Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson, Brees. I mean, you got all these top-notch arms in the NFL playing at a pretty good clip right now. Do you ever remember another time in the NFL where there was this many top-notch quarterbacks?
Well, it's become the focal point of the sport. It used to be running backs were really important in the NFL. But let me take inventory here, Jeff. Thanks for the phone call. How many Hall of Famers do we have? Brady, Brees, Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers. Trubisky, no. He might attend the Hall of Fame. You're looking at the potential here of Mahomes, Watson. Who else would we throw in there? Am I missing somebody, McLevin?
Well, if you think of former MVPs, Matt Ryan and Cam Newton both won MVPs.
Matt Ryan will be a Hall of Famer. Cam Newton will not. Matthew Stafford?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Russell Wilson, Hall of Famer. So what do we have, like 12 Hall of Famers? That's pretty impressive. All right. Final results of the poll question, McLevin.
Who's had the worst offseason? Texans run away with it. Not even close.
Well, congratulations there. This day in sports history, Paulie.
1975, Muhammad Ali knocks out Chuck Wepner in the 15th round to retain the world heavyweight title. Reportedly, Sylvester Stallone, struggling actor, is in the crowd, and that's where he got the idea for Rocky.
What's amazing is it took 15 rounds to knock out Chuck Wepner. Chuck Wepner invited punches. That's what I was like, and they went 15 rounds back then. Chuck Wepner didn't play any defense. He led with his face.
He was trying to wear down his hands.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to tire you out. And his face looked like melted caramel, when it was all done. All right, so that's this day in sports history. Seton O'Connor, what did you learn on today's program?
I learned that Adam Schefter thinks that Cam Newton or Jameis Winston should go to a place where they should learn, which it feels actually really insulting to lump them into the same category, but Adam Schefter did.
I think Cam Newton has learned. I think Jameis Winston is learning. Todd Fritz, what did you learn today?
You're not sure why the Colts gave Phillip Rivers $25 million for 1 year instead of Tom Brady for $50 million over 2.
And I ran out of time with Shefty, and I should have asked him that. But I was wondering how many teams were interested in him? And the fact that Brady, his agent, was asking if the Colts, if they were interested, not the other way around. And, Brady started recruiting Tampa Bay. People thought Tampa Bay would have to recruit Brady. Brady was actually recruiting Tampa Bay when they got into the interviewing process there. McLevin, what did you learn on today's program?
You're not that Dan Patrick.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not the Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Once again, I don't have a Twitter account, and if I did, I would not put that out there that I think we could sacrifice our grandparents for the betterment of our grandchildren. I would not say that. I would not. I would sacrifice a Danette or two, but I didn't say you, Todd.
I think I'm at the top of that list somehow.
Yeah, Paulie, what'd you learn?
In our pre-show meeting, I learned that Todd was given a gift 20 years ago of silk, sexy underwear by his mother.
Elmo panties.
No, they're
How
not
about that?
panties.
I know they're not.
They're not.
They look like panties.
They're boxers.
They're silky Elmo boxers.
Your mom gave you silky underwear in therapy.
I like to be tickled.
Well, what we learned brought to you by TrueCar. Go to TrueCar to build your car and compare models by options from discovery to pricing to reviews. Get everything you need with the new TrueCar. Thanks for joining us. We're here for you. Do it again tomorrow. Dan Patrick Show.